maybe an inch to inch and a half of water equivalent. So that's really going to put a dent in that precip deficit that we've seen.
Hugo Cadbo, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. A month's worth of rain has fallen since Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles, where a storm is battering the region. Evacuation orders are in place and a state of emergency has been declared for flooding and mudslides. ABC's Alex Stone reports from Los Angeles County.
Teresa Reese lives in an evacuation zone in Sun Valley, a neighborhood of L.A. where people have been told they need to get out for fear of mudslides. It's a first for her as she was placing sandbags around her home.
Never had to get evacuated here.
And having to leave is emotional.
And I'm not sure how I'm going to handle it.
Alex Stone, ABC News in Los Angeles County.
And let's get a look at your money at this moment and see what the markets are doing. Wow, the Dow is down 410 points right now. That's 1%. We're at 38,244. Coming up, swapping out yesterday's sun for some rain. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
When's the best time to plant a tree? It was 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? It's now. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I remember years ago being sent home from elementary school with a small tree in a styrofoam cup. I know some of you can relate. If that was planted, it's now bigger than you are. Your finances are the same way. The best time to get started, or the best time to get a second opinion, is now. And with time and patience, imagine how big your financial tree could be. 20 years ago, if you invested $1,000 in Apple stock, it could be worth over $500,000 today. That is a big tree. Do that for you and do that for someone you love. Call Trajan Wealth today and help us help you plant that financial tree.
Call 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600. Or visit TrajanWealth.com.
Advisory services offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
If you've ever experienced running out of hot water before your shower was done, or hard water spots on dishes and fixtures, I've got a deal you might be interested in. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and you probably already know that a tankless water heater and a water softener solve both issues. If you've ever thought about looking into getting a tankless water heater, here's the deal I was talking about. Through the end of February, we're including a free water softener with every new tankless water heater we install. The best part of this deal might be that you never have to worry about being the last one to the shower again, or that you don't have to waste the money keeping 40 to 50 gallons of water hot 24/7. To take advantage of this deal, call Any Hour Services before the end of February. The visit's free and there's no obligation to buy. If you decide to have us install a new tankless water heater, we'll throw in the water softener for free. That's right, a free water softener when you purchase a tankless water heater. Pick up the phone and call Any Hour Services right now for all the details. 801-443-7400. You can Google Any Hour Services. You can even schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try soon. Harry's is available online and in-store at a retailer near you. Get a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/news. That's harrys.com/news. Or check us out at your local Costco for a price you can't find anywhere else. Just look for the Chrome Razor with 13 blade refills at your local Costco. You can't miss it. Exclusive to Costco members.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
We still have this emergency traffic out in the Tooele area. It's been that way for the bulk of the morning anyway. We have a blown over semi. They're trying to get that upright. Also a pickup truck with a trailer that was blown over as well. And so if you're coming out of Tooele, you're not going to be able to go on I-80. Once you get to that I-80-201 split, I-80 is closed off, and so you're going to have to stay on 201 itself. Now, in the Salt Lake Valley, it's looking pretty decent on I-15. In fact, we hardly see any delays at all, maybe a little less than 70 miles an hour around the South Salt Lake area, I guess we'll call it. But up in Weber and Davis counties, no problems there. Utah County also moving smoothly. No real trouble in your canyons right now either. Lagoon is looking for ride maintenance technicians. Lagoon offers excellent mechanical training programs with amazing career opportunities. Ride maintenance technician position is a full-time and year-round job. Details visit lagoonpark.com/jobs. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Today, we're swapping yesterday's sun for clouds and rain. Let's see, the high will be about 50 degrees, 53 tomorrow. We will get snow in the valley come Friday. Right now, it's cloudy and 46 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, friends, we've got a real mess going on right now in California. That is the wind and the rain. Power lines are down. Cars are absolutely floating down the streets. And I think it's now up to 6 counties that are in a state of emergency.
Weather event.
We've got roads that look like raging rivers. The current here is strong enough to uplift entire boulders, this one the size of a car tire. Where it came from unclear, but the damage it's causing, and that's a garage back there, ripped apart by what officials are calling a debris flow. This is actually a car that was parked up there. It was carried down here by the current.
Taylor Morgan sitting in today for Dave Noriega. Taylor, normally of KSL at Night. Thanks so much for being here.
Always a pleasure, Debbie.
Real mess in California.
It is a mess.
Yeah, they've got, I believe LA is going to take the brunt of it today. 40 million Americans still under flood watch in California. Winds howling 80 miles an hour. We're going to get live updates throughout the show. Want to remind our listeners at the launch, always sponsored by Mountain America Credit Union. We appreciate their sponsorship of the launch. But let's get right into our top local story. Legalizing a lottery in Utah. What are the odds?
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
That's right. A lawmaker is delivering an elevator pitch, and I can't wait for our very own Taylor Morgan to weigh in on this because you do a lot of lobbying on Capitol Hill.
I do, Debbie. It's a nice little break for me to be here in studio on a Monday morning during the session to step away from the Hill. This is an interesting idea.
So the elevator pitch is, I'll get your reaction to it, Taylor, would legalize a state lottery, but the hurdle is it must clear 2/3 of the House and the Senate.
Correct.
So 66% must vote in favor for it to get off Capitol Hill and leap onto the ballot. So when we all go to the ballot box, we could then decide if we want a state lottery as voters, we don't want a state lottery, because this is chiseled into the state constitution that there is no state lottery. So
that's right.
That's those are the hurdles we have to clear, right?
This would have to be a constitutional change, amending Utah's constitution, because no form of gambling in Utah is legal per our state constitution. Now, Debbie, this is interesting because it's just one piece, one item in the ongoing conversation on Utah's Capitol Hill about taxes and ballot measures.
Okay.
We're already looking at potentially removing the earmark on income tax for education spending, right? The legislature wants voters to consider doing that. Also tied to maybe a repeal of the sales tax on food. The lottery in Utah potentially could be one way to reduce property taxes, to get some additional funding to education. It's just one other item in this puzzle around taxes that is being talked about on the Hill right now.
Did you hear what the governor said about it? I want to play, it's about a 45-second clip of from an interview he did, what he said about the lottery. And I love how he framed it every step of the way. Let's listen.
Well, I would be opposed to that. I've said many times that I think lotteries and gambling in general are taxes on people who are bad at math, and they do more harm than good. And so I would not be supporting supporting that. But again, the interesting thing, whenever we talk about a constitutional amendment, I like to remind people that nobody cares what the governor thinks, because it's the one piece of legislation that I actually don't get to sign or veto. So a constitutional change will be solely left up to the legislature. If they're able to get 2/3 to support it, then it goes to the people of Utah, and they ultimately get to decide. So while I think it's not a great idea, I only get to weigh in at the ballot box just like every other citizen in the state of Utah.
Well, Governor, we care what you think. I think, Debbie, I would love to see a poll on this, right? This is really a new, this is coming new at this point in the session. There hasn't been a lot of talk about this up until this point, which makes me believe that it hasn't been something, and I'm talking about the lottery, this hasn't been an orchestrated plan by legislative leadership. As we saw in the first week of the session, Debbie, when legislative leaders agree on priorities, those bills are heard quickly, and those tend to work their way through the session in a more efficient way. This seems to be a little bit out of left field. I think it's fun. I personally like it. I mean, how much do Utahns contribute to Idaho's budget every year by driving to Pocatello or Malad to buy a ticket?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
I don't have the exact number, but I see a lot of license plates, Utah license plates in Wyoming and in Idaho, and it stops in. Nevada has a lottery too, right? I mean, they're not just stopping at the liquor store there, right?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of gambling in Nevada close by.
So what I find interesting, curious about this particular proposal is how Representative Kara Birkeland, who is pitching this, has framed it. That it could go to help defray the costs of our property taxes, which basically I can visualize this. So when I did the math on my property taxes, I was like, okay, if it defrays all of my property tax costs, woohoo, it's $250 a month. That means that everybody who's playing the lottery would help Deb pay her property taxes. So I like how she's framing this because it's actually tangible. It's a tangible way for people to look at this. However, I'm not 100% sure that's how it would actually work in real life.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because when the Arizona lottery was approved like 30 some odd years ago, a lot of taxpayers in Arizona felt like, it would be used to totally pay for education. Well, it's going to a lot of other things now.
Yeah.
And that's how voters have made the decision to frame how that money is spent, but also lawmakers and the governor's office in Arizona has framed it. It's hard to track how much of it goes to education because so much of it goes to their general fund and then gets dispersed. So I'm sure a chunk of it is helping to prop up educational efforts in Arizona K through 12. But when they say, property taxes in Utah would maybe go poof, I get excited. I would want to see that actually working, though, in real life.
Yeah, Debbie, I'm a little bit suspicious of that because, not to get too deep in the weeds of tax policy, but the legislature doesn't necessarily have complete control over property taxes and property tax rates. These are local and county. And so when we start talking about the legislature being able to reduce or eliminate property taxes, I'm not so sure they can actually do that.
Taylor, let's take 5 phone calls, see what our listeners think. Is it time to let voters settle that age-old dispute in Utah and either decide yes or no to a lottery?
I like it. Let's let the voters decide.
And let's let the callers decide right now. 801-575-TALK. 801-575-TALK. And when you're dialing us up, I want to also let you know straight ahead, I'm going to break down which age groups spend the most on lotto tickets because this is also an age-old dispute. It's not who I thought it would be. Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio. The last thing you want in the morning
is more noise.
The day's just getting started. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed, and it's not even 8 yet.
So, catching up on important news stories, some sense of weather and traffic, it shouldn't be stressful.
Get a wrap on the day ahead from smart, inviting voices who know you're trying to ease in. Do you love a rainy day?
I do, actually.
I do too.
Tim and Amanda, mornings from 5 to 9. They have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Many people, Amanda, I think, start each new year with one of two resolutions. One is to lose weight. The other is to save money.
Yeah.
And if you struggle to do that in the past, UCCU has an automatic way to help you.
I have used these wonderful savings goals, savings accounts at UCCU so many times. In fact, I just set one up. It's so easy. You just go and you tell it, what are you saving for? So right now I'm saving for a senior trip for my youngest son.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell it, I have until June of 2025. I want to save this much money. And then it will tell you, all right, well then every month or every other week or whatever you want to do, you have to set aside this much, and it will automatically take it out of your savings account.
You can have as many accounts as you want, name them whatever you want, and let's just say you want to save $600 this year.
Right.
$50 a month will automatically go in, and you're reaching your goals. You haven't done a thing.
This is the way to save money and not feel it, which is a way to be successful.
So to get started, just log in to their online or mobile banking and click on any of the goals to begin.
UCCU.com. Utah Community Credit Union. Love where you bank.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I think my battery's dead.
With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone.
So what if I need a new one?
No problem. We have the right battery for your car, starting at only $89.99.
Get in zone.
And what about my old battery?
We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and I'm proud to tell you we don't lay off employees when things get tough. During the pandemic, we didn't let one of our installers go. Instead, we had them clean and remodel our offices so they could still get paid. Remember the 2008 housing crisis? It was a financial nightmare for even the biggest contractors. Still, we didn't lay off a single worker. Nope, we sacrificed profits to keep paying everyone. Look, when the economy's down, most contractors are quick to lay off their workers. It's the easiest way to save money when times get tight. But at RGS Exteriors, we're loyal to our people. You know why? Because it's the right thing to do. People first. People always. That's the RGS way. For gutters, siding, windows, and more, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com, 801-280-3110.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, get your rain jacket and umbrella back out and keep it out. A second storm in less than a week hits Utah today and lasts through Thursday. Second, Governor Cox is calling the southern border immigration crisis a safety issue after his visit to Texas this weekend. And third, a pair of former BYU national champions are headed to Paris this summer for the Olympic Games. Right now it's cloudy and 46 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
This is my inner Thomas Jefferson. Put the vote to the people. Let the people decide. The question that Taylor Morgan and I are asking of our listeners right now to call in and answer is it time that voters decide? The age-old dispute in Utah, it's as old as time. It's chiseled into the Constitution. No lottery. Is it time that we put this question on the ballot? Should Utah have a lottery?
I like it, Debbie. And here's the thing. If we're going to amend the Utah State Constitution to allow for a lottery, does that mean I can maybe gamble on college football, too, at the same time? I don't know.
You think it's opening the floodgates?
Maybe. That's a concern. I'd like to know what people think.
So far, the appetite on Capitol Hill doesn't seem to be voracious for this. It might just be an appetizer that nobody kind of gets pushed away. You know, when they're coming around with the caviar or whatever. It's like, ugh, that doesn't. This is Representative Kara Birkeland's elevator pitch is to bring or let the voters decide if there should be a lottery in Utah, which has to cross a couple of hurdles, right, Taylor?
Yeah, it has to pass by a 2/3 majority in both the Utah House and the Utah Senate. That's 66% of both of those bodies in our legislature. And, Debbie, that's a high bar, really, for anything, but especially for something that has been pretty controversial in Utah's history is the lottery. This isn't the first time we've considered this or discussed it. And the legislature has never, ever put this question before the voters before. But maybe this year it could change.
801-575-TALK. Looking forward to your live phone calls. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. Taylor, as always, you can hear him on KSL at night, Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Great show. Of course, tonight we've got are you hosting tonight?
Well, we will see,
Okay.
Debbie.
I was going to say,
depends
you're here.
on how,
now, that's a long day
how well
for you.
we do in here.
And then you also lobby up on Capitol Hill.
That's right, yeah.
So you've got a busy day ahead. Michael in Clearfield, what do you think about letting voters decide if we should have a lottery or not?
Well, I didn't know that you were really going to put me on the radio for a comment, but I think it's a good idea. I have family that's lived up in Idaho for years, and they like what's happened, you know, the way they've been able to use the money and stuff up there.
Yeah.
And I also have a neighbor that's one of the only ones that's won a six-figure,
Really?
won a six figures from Idaho lottery.
Your neighbor?
Yeah, I won't say any names or anything, but I think it would be a good thing if that money was kept back here in Utah. And I have lots of friends and people that make the trip up there to do it. So I have to go for my work, but I just wanted to put my vote in.
That's awesome. Thanks, Michael. Thanks for your phone call. Appreciate it.
Michael, could we maybe put in some money in a pool with your neighbor there?
Since 1981, when Arizona, this is in Idaho, but this is Arizona. It's where I grew up, and knew all about the lottery. Remember the controversy when it started. 1981, the sales revenues totaled almost $12 billion. $3.5 million of that has gone directly back to state funds and different programs, including to help fund programs for people experiencing homelessness, food assistance programs, court-appointed special advocates for foster children, local transportation projects, almost $1 billion to that. And most of it is practically untraceable or untrackable, I should say, because it goes into the general fund.
Yeah,
Taylor,
yeah.
explain what that means.
It's messy, Debbie. It's very messy when it comes to our tax dollars, at least at the state level. The Utah legislature relies on sales tax revenue and income tax revenue. The legislature right now is talking about reducing the income tax rate or even getting rid of it altogether, Debbie. That's another constitutional issue because our Constitution requires state income tax money to be spent on education. So the lottery is one part of that. But listen, anytime you create a new tax pool right, like this, and a lottery would be a tax. Like Governor Cox said, it's maybe a tax on people who don't do math well, but it's still a tax in a way. The direct control over how it's spent is a big question mark.
When it ends up in a big big pile of money like the general fund, it's hard to track how much of it ends up in the pockets of, education needs, how much of it goes to special programs or health and human service. It's really hard to track it.
Yeah. In theory, maybe you could say a lottery would reduce our other taxes, Debbie, but there's no guarantees that would happen.
Howard from Springville. Happy Monday, Howard.
Hi, that's Happy Monday. Wow, I haven't heard that for a long time.
Well, it's been a rough Monday for me, but here we are. We're good. We're all in good shape, and here we go. So tell us your take.
I'm not opposed to the lottery. I'm not opposed to gambling or gaming or whatever you want to call it. I think it's fun. I think it's good. It can be good recreation. The problem that I see, though, when we start to suggest that we're going to drop or lower some tax revenue and make that up through the lottery, proportionately, the income the income group that buys lottery tickets quite often are those that don't have the expendable income to do it. And so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using those that have the least ability to pay income tax or pay property tax or whatever. They're going to be funding people like me who can afford the property tax, who can afford the income tax,
and that's
who can afford those
that's
things.
a great point. If you're just joining us, the proposal that we're hearing off Capitol Hill is to put the lottery decision to the voters.
Yeah.
Eventually, if it passes both the House and the Senate, it could get to a ballot as a constitutional amendment. And the pitch is that it would go towards defraying the cost of our property taxes. And Howard brings up an excellent point. I looked up who's spending the most on the lottery, and it was a surprise to me. I thought it was people my age. We're just looking for a new retirement plan. And it's shocking how many people are actually few people are playing the lottery to get out of debt or to come up with, to find that new retirement plan. But let me get back to the statistics. And this is from a few years ago, but it was Americans between 65 and 74.
Yeah.
So those fixed income, usually.
Social Security money.
But here's the other thing I thought was a little bit surprising is they're spending about $10 a month on it. So I say, hey, if you're going into your golden years and $10 a month on a few scratch tickets, or it floats your boat.
If you're not spending it on the lottery, what are you putting it in a birthday card and mailing it to your grandkids?
Yeah. So on our KSL News Radio Facebook page as well, you can join the conversation. Dozens and dozens of people already weighing in just the last few minutes. And the question is it time for Utah voters to decide if lottery should be established? Betsy says, yes, put it on the ballot and let the people decide, Taylor.
Listen, I am usually the fun guy, and I understand why it's appealing to people to put this on the ballot. Here's my concern, Debbie, is if we remove Utah's constitutional prohibition on gambling to implement a lottery, and I sound like my dad here, but it's a slippery slope. We're going to open the floodgates to all kinds of legalized gambling here in Utah. Utah is one of only 2 or 3 states in the country that has no form of legal gambling because of our Constitution. What are we opening ourselves up to, Debbie, if we go down this road?
Well, Brandon on our KSL News Radio Facebook page, Tay, says it would make the drive to Wyoming a lot shorter. But let's talk about our short walk up to Capitol Hill, where you spent a lot of time as a lobbyist, Taylor. What do you think the appetite is for lawmakers to get it through both the House and the Senate in order for it to make it to the ballot?
Yeah, I don't see this happening, Debbie. It requires 2/3 in the House and the Senate. I would be very surprised if there were that many votes.
You don't feel like there's an appetite at all?
Oh, there's a little bit of an appetite, but not a 2/3 majority appetite in the legislature.
Could this be something, your 15-second hot take, we'll come back to this in the 11 o'clock hour, that voters could decide to push to the ballot on their own?
No. A constitutional change has to go through the Utah legislature.
Wow. That's a hard no. All right. Next, Governor Cox went to the southern border along with other Republican governors, and he said something about meth and fentanyl crossing over the border into Utah that I really hadn't heard before.
None of this is a secret. It's something we've been talking about for years, but things have gotten significantly worse.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, a pair of former BYU national champions are headed to Paris this summer for the Olympic Games. KSL News Radio's Mark Jackson reports.
Former Cougars Connor Mance and Clayton Young placed first and second, respectively, at team trials in Orlando, Florida on Saturday. The finishes qualified both for the upcoming Summer Olympics in Paris on Team USA. Young, a product of American Fork, ran for the Cougars from 2015 to 2018 as a senior at BYU. Young won the NCAA Division I Outdoor Track Championship.
It is cool to look back on yesterday and think, wow, we did it. We did it. We've been preparing for this day for months and months and years and years.
KSL 5 reports Mance and Young were the two fastest United States marathoners in 2023. Mark Jackson, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story now. Despite it having the backing of Senate leaders, members of both parties are finding things they don't like in the border provisions of the Ukraine-Israel foreign aid bill that emerged last night in the Senate. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports.
The measure grows the Border Patrol's detention capacity. It aims to make it harder for migrants to seek asylum, and it would temporarily shut down most border crossings once a certain threshold is met. But conservative opponents say the bill doesn't go nearly far enough, and some liberals say these measures are too strict. The bill faces its first test in a Senate vote set for Wednesday.
Your money at this moment. Right now, the Dow is off 360 points this morning. That's 0.9%. We're at 38,294. Coming up, the clouds are back. Here comes the rain. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Strength comes from confidence. Financial strength comes from knowing you have the best financial resources backing you up. And that starts at Hercules Credit Union and their Gold Tier Checking. Gold Tier Checking is a way for you to enjoy amazing rewards because you're a valued customer and Hercules professionals want you to always feel that way. So Gold Tier Checking brings you all the benefits of regular checking, but with even more benefits. Start with Ultimate ID and 3 Bureau daily credit monitoring. There's cellular care coverage, health and wellness savings, tickets and savings express, increased dividend payouts, and no monthly fees. All that's required is that you sign up for e-statements and every 30 days get direct deposit. Keep an average daily balance of $500 or more and make 10 or more Visa debit card purchases. Start at HerculesCU.com and begin to learn about Gold Tier Checking. HerculesCU.com. HerculesCU.com. Hercules Credit Union. Growing stronger together. On approved credit. Equal housing lender. All accounts insured to $250,000 by NCUA.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
God, I'm so stressed. It's a brand new year and our business is busier than ever.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
15 years ago, we were adding on to our home, and so I convinced Sean we should update the kitchen.
We did some research and we decided to go with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Their reputation was phenomenal. To design, do the construction and the finish work, what we wanted was what we got from start to finish. So fast forward 15 years, our family's changed. We've gotten bigger.
There just wasn't the space in the kitchen anymore. People were banging into each other.
We decided 3-Day Kitchen and Bath. Here's the problem. What are our solutions? Comparing working with 3-Day Kitchen and Bath 15 years ago, today, their ability to design what you want was the same.
Everything has been what I want.
The quality of 3-Day Kitchen and Bath, I think, is phenomenal. The countertops and the cabinets that they use are great. They were just good guys doing good work.
For more about your new kitchen or bath, visit 3daykitchen.com.
3-Day Kitchen and Bath.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Jason Jones.
So our biggest problem spot has been the same all morning long. It's out in Tooele, right at the I-80-201 split. Well, just past that anyway, as you approach Saltaire. We got a blown over semi and a trailer from a pickup truck. Those are both blown over. And I-80 is now closed coming out of Tooele, so you're going to be shunted off onto 201, and you cannot go to I-80. So just expect that you're going to find heavy delays there all the way back to the Lake Point area. I've been saying all morning that it's pretty slick up in Weber Canyon, and now we have our second accident to kind of prove that. Eastbound side, again, this one's going to be closer to Peterson, and it's affecting the right lane there. Fortunately, the traffic up there is fairly light, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about that. But slow down, because it's obviously icy. Is the IRS harassing you? Are tax problems ruining your life? Let Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox help. Visit taxhelput.com. That's taxhelput.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we're expecting rain today. Some of us have already had some rain this morning. Temperatures will stay warm. 50 for a high today, 53 tomorrow. More rain on Wednesday, and then the temperatures start to come down. We may even see snow in the valley on Friday. Right now it's 47 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. I think if you're going to voice opinions about the southern border, what's going on in Texas and Arizona, you ought to at least pay a visit to it. I'm glad the governor of Utah went. He was there this weekend. Well, he wasn't there for long, though. So I'm trying to reconcile. Is a day trip enough?
None of this is a secret. It's something we've been talking about for years, but things have gotten significantly worse, especially over the past year. It's a record number of illegal migrants who crossed the border illegally, and we're talking about 3.2 million people in just the last calendar year. And to put that into perspective, there are 3.4 million people in the state of Utah right now.
Debbie, I thought that number was eye-opening. I appreciated that context of having an understanding of just how many people are coming across the southern border.
You mean in context to how many people live in Utah?
Yeah, 3.2 million people crossing the southern border annually. Utah's current population, 3.4 million.
So it'd be enough to fill up the current population.
That's exactly right. So it is overwhelming, truly a crisis. So I appreciate the attention, the focus. What's really frustrating about this situation, Debbie, is what we're seeing today. Governor Cox visited the southern border yesterday. This morning in Washington, D.C., the U.S. House of Representatives has a potential border package in front of them, and they've just said, no, we're not even going to take a vote on that. We don't like it.
And they're already fighting about it.
We're using the border's a political football right now, and going into a presidential election year, playing politics with the crisis on the southern border, and it's both parties, Debbie. It's both parties are guilty here, and it's just shameful.
I want to highlight that even further back than the last couple of years. I'm going to highlight that in just a moment back to the 1990s.
Sure, it's not new.
In just a moment.
Yeah.
It's not new, and you're going to just see how not new it really is in just a moment. The governor returning to Utah, holding a press event last night, after his return. Now, as I said off the top, I was glad the governor and other governors went. I appreciate when anybody pays a visit to the southern border. We tend to opine about things we know nothing about, and we have an opinion about what's going on at the southern border when we haven't even been down there. So the governor returned calling on President Biden and Congress. To your point, Taylor, Congress has this piece of legislation, this package in front of them. Who knows what'll become of that? He's calling on them to do more. And he specifically went here with his comments to the Utah media last night, talking about terrorists trying to cross the border.
We also know that over 160 people who are on the terrorist watch list in the United States were apprehended crossing our southern border. Again, those are the people that we know about. So even if it's less than 1% that are crossing that mean to do harm to Americans, that's a huge number when we're talking about 3.2 million people and an unacceptable number. We also know that our cities and states are being overrun. The resources that we have available are being tapped out. And sadly, the federal government has once again just completely abdicated their responsibility. President Biden can't fix all of this, but he could fix most of this with the authority that he has right now. And he knows this, and his administration knows this, and they're willfully choosing not to do the things that could stop this from happening.
That is true. However, Debbie, it's complicated. We've seen recently in Texas what has happened. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled against the state of Texas when it came to the barbed wire preventing border crossings. And just because President Biden or the U.S. Supreme Court says or does something, that doesn't mean that border states are going to follow through.
And we saw that in Texas.
We're seeing this in Texas. We've seen this in Arizona.
Where they were adding
California.
razor wire after that ruling.
That's exactly right. It's far more complicated. And President Biden alone, Congress alone, these states alone, we cannot address this unless we put politics aside and decide to work together rather than just use the border to score political points.
And this is the point where I have lost hope. When I saw what the governor was saying last night, and I listened to him again this morning when he spoke to the press about his day trip to the border yesterday with a lot of other Republican governors. There were total, I think, 14 or 15 of them down there. I've lost hope that there will actually be anything tangible and functional accomplished in years to come. It is a very popular political hot potato.
Yeah.
And I went back in time because I remember this being an issue when I worked at the border in Yuma back in the in 1990. I was there, not in the early, I was there in 1990. And then I went back through the State of the Union addresses, Taylor. This is how passionate I am about this issue. I went back through the State of the Union addresses. President Clinton gave this one to Congress back in 1995. So what are we talking? 40 years ago? Is this 40 years ago? Am I doing my math right? I don't do math well, but I tell you what, this was almost the same rhetoric back in 1995 as we're hearing today. We should be outraged as Americans that there is this just terrible situation going on in Washington, D.C. that means we're not getting anything accomplished at the southern border.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace, as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
President Clinton, 1995, Taylor.
30 years ago.
30 years ago.
Debbie, 30 years. Feels
30
like it could be 100,
feels
though.
like 40. Sorry, I did my mouth wrong.
What a great accent,
yeah.
Bill.
What are your thoughts on that, though?
Well, listen.
It sounds like the same stuff we're hearing today.
The border is a top 3 issue when it comes to winning elections and raising political money, Debbie. And why, and this is me putting on my political consultant hat, so judge me, hate me for it, but the simple truth is you're not going to give up an issue that wins you elections. And it's true for both parties.
Well stated. Straight ahead, let's take you to California. The Pineapple Express is slamming that state.
To stay home. Stay home unless limit non-essential travel. It is safer inside. One of those things is
so
the
bad
amount
in
of
California
rainfall,
right
the low visibility,
now
and
because
then
of the
also
rain.
the
How bad
roadways
is it?
flooding,
Kevin Eubank
just
tells
limit
us
your
next.
chances.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to kslnewsradio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. A little experiment here that you can try in your home just for fun. Take 2 water heaters, run hard water through one and soft water through the other, then count how many years each one lasts. Now, of course, I can save you all that trouble because the experiment takes place every day in countless homes right here in the state of Utah. The result's always the same. Hard water makes water heaters and other appliances conk out years before they should. And that's why when Dee and I build our new home, I informed the builder that we'd have Connecticut put in our soft water. I just won't settle for anything else. With Connecticut, you'll use 2/3 less salt. All the mechanical design makes it virtually maintenance-free. And I'll tell you what, your water heater and other appliances will last years longer. All you have to do is contact my friends at Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut. It's 801-576-8600 or log on to softwaterutah.com.
In order for small businesses to thrive, they need to be smart, efficient, savvy, staying ahead of the market at every turn, finding ways to do more with less, and taking advantage of every opportunity that comes their way. That's why Comcast Business is introducing the Small Business Bonus. For a limited time, you can get up to a $1,000 prepaid card when you switch to Comcast Business, the company with the largest, fastest, reliable network. So if you're a small business owner, don't wait. Call or go online to learn about the $1,000 bonus today.
Give your business a head start in 2024. Get started with fast speeds and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Call or go online to switch today. Ends 2/21/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 50 megabits per second internet and security edge. EcoBill and autopay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Prepaid card offer requires premium internet.
Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star your name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333. Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star your name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
When you hire your local CertaPro painters, you get
the power of a cut above.
Decades of expertise to transform your home. From so-so to virtuoso.
The power of neighborhood painters.
We live where you live and probably like the same pizza place you do. Put
the power of pro
to work for you today. Get your project started at CertaPro.com.
Each CertaPro painter's business is independently owned and operated.
I give my all to my family. I give my best to my job. I give my time to my community. And to myself, I'm giving permission to drive the way I've always wanted. In luxury, in style. Today, not someday. I'm headed to Jerry Seiner Cadillac to choose from an entire line of sleek crossovers in stock and the area's largest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. I've earned a Cadillac. If you have too, then come in today to experience the Seiner difference.
It's only a minute of news. How long could it take? I do a lot of surfing late at night. I'm looking at all my favorite internet sources, Wall Street Journals, New York Times. People throw me ideas, but when I sit down in the morning and it's time to write, it has to resonate with me. I have to have something to say about it. It is my minute of news.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Utah taxpayers could end up paying $6.5 million for a presidential debate at the University of Utah. Second, the Red Cross Utah says more people have canceled their donations in January than last year combined, and is offering incentives to donate this month. Third, we've got some rain and snow on the way this week, something southern Utah really needs. Right now it is cloudy and 47 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, I want to remember we love y'all so much that for the month of love, we're holding a secret contest. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. Did you know about our secret contest?
Of course I did, Debbie, of course.
So this is one for exclusively for our podcast listeners. You're part of an exclusive club if you subscribe to our podcasts and you listen to our podcasts. You'll hear some keywords, and then you'll learn what to do with that keyword when you hear it. And we're every week we are giving away a pair of AirPod Pros.
Every week?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
For the month of February.
Okay.
All right. So make sure you subscribe to our podcast and listen. You can't just subscribe. You got to listen, and then you can figure out how to enter to win for your chance to win a pair of AirPod Pros. Hey, let's fly on over right now to California, where things are just wild. This is what meteorologists call, Taylor, the Pineapple Express.
Yeah, the Pineapple Express I thought was a bad movie, but it turns out it's something that meteorologists have marketed the Hawaiian storm that comes across the... Is that right? Am I getting this right? Okay.
Yeah, we'll get with Kevin Eubank, KSL meteorologist, in just a moment to give us the latest. It's a mess in lots of parts of California. I heard L.A. is in real trouble today.
This storm is a serious weather event.
We've got roads that look like raging rivers. The current here is strong enough to uplift entire boulders, this one the size of a car tire. Where it came from unclear, but the damage it's causing, and that's a garage back there, ripped apart by what officials are calling a debris flow. This is actually a car that was parked up there. It was carried down here by the current.
Well, I think we need to bring in Kevin Eubank, Debbie, to find out what exactly is happening in California and what we should expect in Utah for this coming week.
Hi,
Kevin.
Hey, you guys. How are we this morning?
So good. Do you know Taylor? Taylor Morgan's in today for Dave Noriega.
Dude, what an improvement. Honest to goodness. Such a step up, Taylor. We're so glad you're here.
Dave's not even here to defend himself today.
Is Dave skiing?
Perfect time to pay such a compliment. That's how that works.
There you go.
I know. So, Kev, what's up with California?
So California is dealing, as you guys talked about, this Pineapple Express. It's also called an atmospheric river. And what it is it's just a huge current of moisture that's flowing in from the Pacific, really without anything blocking it or anything steering it or anything making it go around and lose some energy. It's just a straight line all the way out into the Pacific. And this is the second one to hit California in the last week. So part of the problems are we've added now, the first round brought anywhere from 8 inches to 10 inches of rain up in some of the mountains throughout central and southern California. Well, this is doing the same. They can handle 1, but doing it 2 in a week, that's just too much. And they're having all sorts of problems. In fact, Los Angeles yesterday had over 4 inches of rain, breaking a daily record. That's the most single-day rain total in 20 years for that area. So just, crazy rain that they have not seen in a very, very long time.
Now, of course, this is serious, causing a lot of problems. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in 8 counties. So I don't want to make light of this in any way, but isn't this good in some ways for California? We know that they've been in drought. We had a lot of rain last year. We know in Utah we had a lot of snow last year, but we still need this atmospheric river, don't we? Isn't there some silver lining to this?
Oh, sure. Generally speaking, we always need the water. But specifically speaking, it's very damaging and dangerous, and it's hard to contain all that water. You got to think, you get so much water, if you can manage it and get it into storage facilities, it's perfect. But these kind of storms, they just wash away hillsides, communities, and then all that water just flows into the ocean. So it isn't as capturable as maybe snowpack would be or managed runoff would be. And so for California, it's more devastating than it is beneficial. For Utah, it's a different scenario. But in California right now, It's just a lot of problems, and they're going to be recovering for weeks and weeks and weeks. These are big storms, and they've caused significant problems.
Atmospheric river parked over California. Kevin Eubank live on the line with us, KSL meteorologist. And Kev, I was watching the evacuation orders come down.
Never had to get evacuated here.
And now you've got evacuation orders.
I know, and I'm not sure how I'm going to handle it. So I'm just kind of in a wait-and-see kind of position. I got my sandbag.
ABC meteorologist Ginger Z talking to residents who are getting evacuated. And when I saw how widespread those evacuation orders were, Kevin, I thought, how could we all get out of Salt Lake County at the same time if that was ordered? And then I know that's not happening here, but that's where my mind went. I don't know. Where do I go? Tooele?
Yeah,
do I go to Tooele? Do I go to Wendover?
Right. Well, that's what happens when you have literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people all in a very concentrated area. We've experienced that with wildfires where we have communities that have to evacuate, but nothing to the scale and scope that they're dealing with there in California. Thank goodness. But you're right. You've got to think, what avenues do I have? Can I go west? Can I go east? Can I go north or south? And they're really, really caught because this storm is so big for them. They're going to have to go literally 100 miles away just to get away from those kinds of storms. It's a broad, big storm.
Kevin, what does this mean for Utah? When is this rain going to make its way here? Will it be snow? What should we expect?
Yeah, good question. In fact, we've already had some crazy winds. We had a semi that got toppled out over I-80 this morning because of the winds out in the West Desert, 50, 60, 70 mile an hour winds. We're going to be having rain in the valleys and snow in the mountains over the next several days. It'll come in waves, but it's going to last through tonight, into tomorrow, into Wednesday. And we're talking 1 to 2 feet of snow in the mountains of Utah. And we're talking a half inch to an inch of rain in the valleys on top of what we got last week, which was very similar. So we're gonna surpass the normal for February in Salt Lake City for water in just the first week and a half of the month, which is crazy. And the mountains are going to get a complete refresh of a heavy, wet, rich, moisture-rich snow. It's avalanche prone and it's dangerous that way, but oh my goodness, it's a snowpack, boon. We love it. And so we need the water, but it's going to not be as traumatic for Utah as it is for California, thank goodness. But we're definitely going to benefit from all the water that's coming.
I told you a few weeks ago, I love when the designer storms blow in and give us that Calvin Klein or Louis Vuitton feel where we get the rain in the valleys, but we keep the snow where we need it in the mountains and where the skiers love it, Kev.
Yeah, that's exactly what this storm is going to do. It's a very spring-like storm. Odd to get it in January and now February, but it is very designer. And you're right, you don't have to shovel rain, and Debbie's smile goes on and on and on.
That's right. It makes it so much easier driving, too, next to semi-trucks on I-15. We don't have to navigate snow. Kevin, thanks as always. We so appreciate you keeping an eye on the weather, not only in Utah, but globally, and giving us an update on what is going on in California. It is a real mess right there, right now, across California, with high winds, lots of rain, record-breaking rain in some areas, and more on the way in California. We're not going to have that same situation here, but we are going to get plenty of water, which is good news.
We need it. We need it, and I'm a skier, and I feel for my friends. I have family in California. Obviously,
are they okay?
They're okay. They are okay. In fact, my wife is in California now for a work trip, so she'll.
Is she by the storm?
She's a little bit south of where it's worse
why aren't we
right
having
now.
live reports from Mrs.
You know,
Morgan?
she's not answering, but she never takes my calls on Monday morning, Debbie. So yeah, I'm not too worried.
This is trouble spelled all over it. We need to get a hold of your wife.
We'll keep trying during the break.
Yeah. So more cold, snowy weather in the mountains on the way to Utah, and more water in the valleys in the form of rain throughout the week. Thanks so much to Kevin Eubank. Next, couldn't believe when I found out that school teachers are having babies without maternity leave. Not that they're having the babies, but they're doing that without maternity. What are we doing to our school teachers? I've got some good news next when we keep our eye on the hill on this issue.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Governor Spencer Cox went to the U.S.-Mexico border over the weekend. KSL TV's Shelby Lofton has more on that visit.
Governor Cox said the situation at the border is something Utahns should care about. He said he believes Utah is welcoming to immigrants and refugees.
There are lots of false narratives around here that if you care about border security, that means you hate immigrants or refugees. That is not true.
Governor Cox says there may not be a place for migrants to stay when they reach the U.S. The border crisis is making it easier for drugs to make it to Utah. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Southern Californians finding mud and debris around their homes after about 24 hours of extremely hard rain. Not over yet, says ABC's Alex Stone in Los Angeles County.
The rain is still coming down here, but it is much lighter than it was overnight when it was just pouring all night long. This is a bit of a break, but then the heavier rain is expected to return later today and into tomorrow. This 48-hour stretch of just huge amounts of water filling up storm basins. This break, though, allowing children to go to school.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average right now taking a slide on the day, down 362 points, down just under 1%. The NASDAQ is down 68 points right now. And our KSL weather, we've got some rain around here too. Not the kind they've had in L.A., but it's going to be wet. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Maybe Washington didn't ski. Maybe Lincoln didn't shred. Okay, could be, but I know they'd have no objections to you taking a run in their honor. So get ready. President's Weekend at Bear Lake is simply the best of Utah and the best place to celebrate our president's big days. You'll uncover 3 of the most beautiful cross-country and snowshoeing trails in Utah, or jump into a snowmobile and catch some awesome trails and over 350 miles of backcountry snowmobiling. No matter how you like your winter sports, Bear Lake is ready, and President's Weekend is the perfect time to celebrate. So pack up the family and play your way. And when you choose President's Day to play in the snow, you'll find family-friendly getaway and lodging deals, too. Start at bearlake.org and learn more about President's Day at Bear Lake. bearlake.org. Lodging, activities, family events, even ice fishing. It's winter at its best, all at Bear Lake. Visit bearlake.org for details. bearlake.org.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with things I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of the disease called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, straight lines seem wavy, like when looking at a door frame. For others, blurry or missing spots can make it hard to read or see loved ones' faces. Many have trouble seeing in low light, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you've been diagnosed with AMD and notice vision changes, don't wait. Talk to your eye doctor about GA today. Learn more at GAWon'tWait.com. That's GAWon'tWait.com.
It's first and goal at the 10-yard line with seconds left on the clock. Your running back is poised for a game-winning touchdown, but before you can make the snap, the opposing team just takes the ball and locks it inside a safe? Then they won't give you the combination unless you pay them $10,000? That's how ransomware works. And in 2021, 2 out of every 3 organizations fell victim to ransomware attacks. Protect your business with the Les Olson Security Suite from Les Olson IT. Learn more at lesolson.com.
A stranger with a gun fires on 2 teens, shattering lives. But that's only the beginning of this story. Listen to The Letter at theletterpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
And same old story out in Tooele with this blown over semi just before you get to Saltaire. Also a blown over trailer there as well. It was being pulled by a pickup truck. And so the road is closed. I-80 coming out of Tooele. You can't take it. You're going to be pushed off onto 201. And that's the only way you're going to be able to get into the Salt Lake Valley at this point. Slow traffic all the way back to the Lake Point area still. Also, we have some construction vehicles. This is going to be eastbound on 215, trying to get off at the State Street exit there. It has the right shoulder blocked and leaking out into the right lane, so slow down as you're trying to make that exit. Otherwise, everything else, I-15 looking really good along the Wasatch Front. The rest of your highways and side streets, no problems there. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, it looks like we'll see cloudy skies, rain showers today, especially in the evening, and again, cloudy tomorrow. High today around 50 degrees and up to 53 tomorrow. And right now we're at 48 degrees with cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, where Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, it's no secret. It's in most states and in Utah, women dominate the teaching profession. And the maternity leave for teachers really caught my attention a few weeks ago when we had Representative Candace Perucci live on the line with us talking about another issue regarding teachers. And she mentioned that there's some districts that don't offer maternity leave. And I about lost my mind, Taylor.
I remember this so clearly, Debbie. I was listening to this segment with you and Dave, and you were blown away. And rightly so, when you learned that, some school districts in Utah do not provide maternity leave for teachers.
Taylor Morgan sitting in today for Dave Noriega. Taylor is a lobbyist on Capitol Hill. He's also a co-host of KSL at Night, our nightly program that runs from 7 to 9 p.m. I appreciate you sitting in today. And also in the break, I was pontificating, if you will, about all of the woes that women go through with maternity leave. I did not have an easy first pregnancy. I was going to the doctor daily the last part of my pregnancy with our first child to make sure that the placenta wasn't going to completely die off. So I was getting regular ultrasounds. I gained 100 pounds. I gained it was so bad. I was so puffy. I walked into the doctor at one point, my OBGYN, and he said, "You know what? We're going to do you a favor today. We're not going to weigh you." And it was because it was just so off the charts awful. It's like, he's like, "You don't need it." I had high blood pressure. And then my recovery went straight into the depression hole, from after our delivery, which was, by the way, a 14-hour labor without an epidural. I finally gave into the epidural because I felt like I was losing consciousness and I wasn't going to be able to stay awake to bring my new baby into the world. What happens to women's bodies during pregnancy and after it could be the perfect storm for trouble after.
Yeah.
I recently had a friend post on Facebook that he lost his daughter-in-law. She died delivering their newborn baby. We have got to get to a point where we recognize that women go through a lot to bring new life into this world. When I hear that women are being shorted out of maternity leave, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know the numbers, so I believe it's factual. And if I'm not correct here, hopefully Representative Perucci will correct me, but I believe a majority of our public teachers in Utah are women.
Yes, I've looked that up. It's true. Representative Candace Perucci sponsoring this legislation that could change the idea that women are, female teachers don't get maternity leave. So what's your elevator pitch, Representative?
Well, thanks for having me on your show today. The bill that I'm running is House Bill 431. It's a teacher retention bill. I'm the chair of House Education. And we hear all the time, how are we going to retain teachers? How do we bring more talent into Utah? Teacher retention, we need to put more money into this. But as I started talking to teachers, and this fluctuates across the state and across districts on what's available to them, obviously federal levels of FMLA, they can take an unpaid leave, but most of the modern world does allow a paid maternity leave, and some districts have been leading out on this, but not everyone is consistent with it. So I've had a couple teachers, well, more than a couple, who have reached out to share their experiences with maternity leave. One in particular said, this is what I had shared with you, Debbie, was she said that she was worried she was going to get a C-section, so she talked to her principal, and he said, well, I can just fire you and rehire you, but that messes with your retirement, and obviously then you're fired. You don't have access to your benefits. And so what this bill does, there are three components, but the component that you've been talking about and hitting on is that districts just need to, at the very least, provide 3 weeks of postpartum recovery and paid. So that's the clincher here is we're saying, listen, you need to give people paid maternity leave. It's just 3 weeks. If you go to Chick-fil-A or anywhere else in the private sector, it is more than that. But the idea is if we're going to talk about teacher retention, then this needs to be a part of the puzzle. People wonder, why do we have these teachers leaving in their first 4 or 5 years of teaching? Well, let's look at when women start having children in Utah, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's to not address this is ignoring the elephant in the room. And again, there are some districts who are already doing a phenomenal job. There are other schools where I've had teachers tell me that their substitute is deducted from their pay. So they're paying for their sub while they're gone. So anyways, that's the issue.
Debbie's in here, Representative, shaking her head.
I can't even
There's
imagine.
steam coming out of Debbie's ears right now.
I'm thinking about what it would be like to be at the kitchen table of that teacher and their spouse who they're getting ready to have a baby, or they're planning to have a baby, and they're trying to put all of these other puzzle pieces together that absolutely make no sense in 2024. They didn't even make sense in 1994 when I was going through it. So why are we still at this point? Why is there so much foot dragging? What's your thought on that?
I think, well, that's a great question. And I'm not going to make the argument against the bill. I am going to tell you, though, there is a free market argument for this. There is a market argument that government is not keeping up with what the free market is doing and what the private sector is doing. And to maintain our competitive advantage, we need at the very least be doing this. Now, the hang up a lot of people have with this, if you look at the fiscal note, there isn't any funding for this. And my argument is we provide $7 billion to public education in Utah. And I think that districts need to be taking care of their employees. We give a generous WPU increase. It's a weighted pupil unit. We're going to be doing it again. And to me, the number one concern we should be thinking about is taking care of our people who are teaching our children. And so that districts are going to need to make up the difference here. It does give them a little bit of a runway to implement this, but I think this is just a starting point. It's just putting in a floor. Obviously, we want people to have more than their 3-week postpartum, and they'll also have what's available through FMLA. Yeah. But this is just a baseline approach. And to your point, Debbie, I mean, recovering after birthing a human, birthing a baby is a pretty intense process, especially depending on what your pregnancy looks like. So at the very minimum, you should have those 3 weeks covered, and you should know that you have it as a paid leave.
Yeah.
I love it, and it also gives them, like you said, that paid leave. Representative Candace Perucci, thank you so much for your attention to this issue and also your phone call. It's a 3 weeks of paid leave, so it gives them a buffer then if they do have to take sick time. I don't even know if they can, but have to take unpaid leave. At least they know that 3 weeks is going to be paid. Because what I worry about is that women are hustling back too quickly to the workplace. I had a friend that was back in less than 2 weeks because it was unpaid. Yeah. It's just unthinkable.
Well, we have a majority of our teachers are women. We entrust them with teaching and raising our own kids. I think the least we can do is give them time after they have their own children. Debbie, I think Utahns would be shocked if they knew that we're not already doing this.
Well, we now know.
We know.
We know that a lot of districts aren't, and Representative Candace Perucci is making a move to change that. Straight ahead, speaking of teachers, lawmakers just a few short days ago, it seems like, wanted to make teachers pay their teacher association, their Utah Education Association, the largest union in the state of Utah for teachers, they wanted to basically have them pay their dues by hand.
Instead of the payroll deduction.
Instead of a payroll deduction. I got word that has changed. So let's get the sponsor of that legislation on the line next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Our lives are full of choices these days.
Some are less important.
Look at all these shows and movies. I don't know what to watch.
But other choices are key to the way we understand the world and our place in it.
When you select KSL, listening on Alexa or in the car,
You've made the right choice.
you could choose to do nothing. You could opt out.
So thank you for engaging, for choosing this station.
KSL News Radio.
Look, I've been joking about that light in my garage that's been out for a few weeks now. I have one light bulb, just one light bulb, at the very top of my garage. So now I'm in the dark. I'm basically in the dark, and I thought, I've got to call Master Electrical because I need more than one light bulb replaced. I need a lighting solution for my garage, and that's where Master Electrical comes in. What I love about Master Electrical is when Dave and I have met with them, they've told us about this upfront pricing guarantee. So when they come to your house and they give you a bid, that is the guaranteed price. That's the amount that you're going to pay when the job is done. And they do more than lighting. Oh, if you need, maybe your smoke detectors looked at. You need a new generator. You've been considering a generator with, the possibility of power outages. Give Master Electrical a call and make sure you ask them about their upfront pricing guarantee. In fact, I bet you won't even have to ask. You'll probably hear it right out of the gates when they come through the door. The nice thing about Master Electrical is they proudly serve all over the Wasatch Front, so from Logan to Santa Quin. And they're always open, including for emergency services. So give Master Electrical a call today. Here's the number, 801-543-2222, 801-543-2222, or you can always check them out online at masterelectrical.com.
Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333. Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Okay, that's good. Whoa, Dave!
Sorry, I'll go grab some paper towels. You can't let Dave pour things. He works at JCW's. They fill stuff up past the brim over there, like their milkshakes. They're thick, rich, and oh my gosh.
Delicious?
Oh no, Dave's filling up Crystal's car for her.
Dave, stop!
Hey, this is Clark for JCW. Stop into any of our 5 locations today. We're located in American Fork, Thanksgiving Point, Provo, South Jordan, and our new location in Harriman. Come in and see why at JCW's we believe in quality and a lot of it.
Do you enjoy fishing, hunting, or just soaking in the beautiful outdoors? Then you need to check out the KSL Outdoors Show, airing Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and midnight on KSL 5 TV. Outdoors with Me, Adam Eagle, is a unique show that takes viewers on a journey through Utah's beautiful backcountry. Watch it live every weekend or find the Outdoor Show on YouTube, KSLOutdoors.com, Facebook, and Instagram. It's the KSL Outdoors Show, brought to you by Camp Chef.
Don't miss KSL's special broadcast with Tim, Amanda, Dave, and Deb, February 9th at ARUP Blood Services Sandy. Blood donations are really needed. To help, visit utahblood.org for details.
Boyd Matheson invites you to go beyond the headlines.
Is this a fake fight? Is this a false choice? Is this performative politics just so someone can get some clicks? We have to get to the principles and policies. That's what really matters. Is it performative or is it principled?
Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson, 1 to 3 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, Utah's governor is back from the border and he didn't like what he saw there. Second, Utah's filmmaking industry has been growing rapidly the past couple of years. And third, after getting pounded by heavy rain over the weekend, Californians getting a bit of a break today. Right now, 48 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
It was not too long ago, just about 10 days ago, that we found out that lawmakers were trying a new thing in a way to make teachers pay their dues for their Utah Education Association, their union dues. I'm sure the sponsor of the legislation is going to, maybe he'll blast me for this, but it felt like a quill and
Representative Tusher is very kind.
Rock, like chisel the amount in and deliver it to the Utah Education Association. They wanted to take their dues payment option out of the payroll deduction, which I thought was a little odd.
Well, and again, I'm not going to speak for the representative, but my understanding is that they were trying to facilitate or respond to concerns from some union members who did not necessarily like the automatic payroll deduction, trying to provide some flexibility there, some other options. I think the bill has had some significant changes, though, Debbie, since the first version.
We had UEA President Renee Pinckney on the line with us the moment we learned that this legislation was coming, making its way through Capitol Hill, because I thought, is this kind of a slam to the UEA to make it more complicated to collect dues?
It feels like there's a problem that they're trying to solve, and we really don't know what that problem is.
Yeah. I think that this happens often in the Utah legislature, Debbie, that many groups are sometimes caught off guard, surprised by legislation. There isn't necessarily always malintent, but groups can feel targeted by certain pieces of legislation that they weren't aware of. And at this point, I think both parties have come to the table.
Representative Jordan Tusher, can you step away from the table for just a moment and walk us through what your thoughts were behind this portion of the legislation? And then I would like for you to get into deeper details about what the whole piece of legislation would do if it's passed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks for having me on. I'll say at the beginning that this legislation really shouldn't be any surprise for the UEA or other public labor unions that the bill applies to. As we've been working on this bill for the last 18 months. A similar bill was released last year during the session, and I've met several times with the UEA on this issue to try to help them understand why there was a need for the legislation. But the real intent behind the bill is namely three things. One, we want to prevent taxpayer resources from going to subsidize public labor unions. Secondly, we want to establish protections for for our public employees against undue union membership pressure that you heard a little bit Taylor talked about there. And then third, we want to ensure that public unions engaged in collective bargaining accurately represent and are responsive to the government employees' interests.
Representative Jordan Tusher is joining us here to talk about the legislation that addresses automatic payroll deduction for union members. Last week, or about a week and a half ago, Debbie, you and Dave had on Renee Pinckney, president of the UEA. She shared some concerns about this. Representative, what is the latest on the bill? Where is it in the process? Have you had renewed conversations with the UEA or AFL-CIO, other unions that are up on the Hill? They've opposed this so far. What is happening today on this bill?
Yeah, so this bill did pass the House Business and Labor Committee last Friday. So not the last Friday, but the week before last Friday. And it is sitting on the House third reading calendar, waiting its turn to be heard. So I'm guessing it will be heard either today or tomorrow on the House floor. But since then, I've had a lot of conversations with different public labor unions across the state, trying to address some of their concerns. And we've made changes. This is now on the second steps through the bill to really make sure that we aren't unduly causing complications to these labor unions, but also putting the proper safeguards in place.
How about the dues portion of that? Did you back off of that where the dues couldn't be deducted through a payroll deduction?
Yeah. So initially, the bill prohibited the dues being deducted. Essentially having the government be the dues collector for these unions and then pass it on. What we changed in the bill is that now each employee just has to annually consent to have the dues deducted, just like they would for their flexible spending account or their health savings account or anything else that comes out of their paycheck. They just have to say, yep, I want those dues to come out of my paycheck. And then any costs associated to the government for processing these dues have to be paid by the labor union.
How much is that? Do you have any idea? How much do they pay to process this?
Yeah, it's kind of across the board. In some places that have it very automated, it's pretty minimal. In some of the more rural counties, they've talked about significant amounts of time each paycheck having to pull people out that do it, pull people in. Anytime there's a change, going back and forth. But on average, we estimate it's about 1.5% of the cost, which would be less than what they would pay for like a credit card transaction.
So if the dues is $50 or something like that a month, or $100 a month, it'd be $1.50. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, I'm not saying the dues is that much. I don't think it is,
Right,
but that's just
right.
I can't do math on the air. We learned that in the first
Never do
first
math on
hour
air.
of the show. We learn that every day.
Yeah, definitely. Representative, has this changed the position of UEA and some of these other groups relative to the bill, or are they supporting this now, or are they still opposing this legislation?
I think they're still opposing it, and I think their concerns primarily have to do more with the recertification process. The bill requires that those unions that do collective bargaining every 5 years have to go through a recertification process where the members of the union get together and say, yes, we want this union to represent us when negotiating with the government. And quite honestly, these unions, most of them, like the UEA, were certified back in the 1970s and haven't had to come up for an election again.
Okay.
And so, just like if I served up here on the Hill for 50 years and not had to go back to my constituents to get reelected, I might oppose something like that. But we think it's a healthy part of the process, and we'll make sure that the unions that represent these government workers are really responsive to their needs.
When I hear recertification, it makes me feel like they're going to have to sit through hours of online training and that kind of thing, like we all do when we have to recertify something. But that doesn't. Now you make it sound like it's just it's a collaborative effort to get together to make sure that those who are paying their monthly dues still want that association to represent and lobby for them. Did I summarize that?
Exactly. It's just an election. It's really, do we have confidence in this group, yes or no? And if they get 51% and they continue to be the negotiating partner for the next 5 years until the next election, and if they don't, then it opens the opportunity for another union to come in and provide different benefits or explain why they should be the one that represents the government employees.
And we know that there are a number of unions that represent employees in Utah, even teachers. There are multiple large unions that represent teachers up on Utah's Capitol Hill. And I think that's an very interesting part of it. Representative Jordan Tusher, thanks so much for joining the show. Good luck throughout the second half of the session.
Yeah, the recertification, now that he's explained that, I don't have too much heartburn over it.
Yeah.
The payroll deduction situation, I did. I think why make it more I think all you're doing is making it more complicated on teachers to remember to pay another bill each month, because clearly the Utah Education Association has been the largest education association in the state of Utah for as long as I can remember.
And it sounds like the legislation has changed now to it no longer prohibits that automatic payroll deduction. What it does do is it requires teachers to annually re-opt in to the automatic deduction. So I think that is a positive development. And putting in a plug for citizens
It's
influencing
like, do I want this deducted?
legislation.
So do I want this deducted again this year in 2025?
Yes.
Check the box, yes.
Exactly.
In 2026, check the box, yes. Or no.
Right.
Or
maybe
no.
you decide
maybe you've
you
changed
don't
your mind,
want
but you
your
have
money.
you have to think about it at least once a year.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that. That's my opinion.
We got word that there's a high school in Utah, Taylor, that has decided to do something about cell phones in the classroom. Are your kids allowed to carry? Your kids aren't in high school yet.
I have a 13-year-old. He's in 8th grade. He starts high school, Debbie, next year.
Oh, my goodness.
He has an iPhone.
He does?
He does. It is locked down. But
Locked down?
Well, we lock it down as parents.
Oh, what?
I
have to hear more about this.
Well, I'll tell you during the break.
Okay, you'll tell me during the break, and then I want you also to talk to us about it in the our 10:30 half hour of the show. We're going to talk live to the school, the high school that has decided, along the Wasatch Front, that has decided to ban cell phones in the classroom. And they're implementing a 3 strikes policy next.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utah's filmmaking industry had a bit of a growth spurt over the past couple of years. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has more.
This finding comes from a new Gardner Institute study that shows Utah's cultural industry spent nearly $15 billion back in 2022, according to the Salt Lake Tribune. Nearly 2,000 jobs in the filmmaking industry were created that year as well, and this is an increase that is higher than any other state.
And we'll see how the trend continues if a bill extending the Rural Film Incentive Program passes the Utah legislature. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. You ready to meet Rufus? This is Amazon's artificial intelligence bot that's going to make your shopping easier. ABC's Mark Remillard reports.
Some of the world's biggest retailers are going all in on AI.
Retailers so far have spent about $7.8 billion on AI technology.
Hitha Herzog with the firm H Squared Research.
It's going to make shopping way more efficient.
Google and Walmart rolled out AI search features over the holidays, and now Amazon is unveiling a new AI shopping assistant called Rufus, which is still in beta. The idea is shoppers can ask specific questions about products and get answers, like which of these coffee makers is the easiest to clean. Mark Remillard, ABC News.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average sliding on the day, but not quite as much as it was last hour. Down 282 points since the start of trading now. And the NASDAQ is down 32 points. And a KSL weather, we're looking for a rainy week ahead. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Are you looking to get a COVID-19 booster to stay healthy this cold and flu season? If you join the Beehive study, you'll have the chance to receive up to $550 for getting a booster and completing weekly COVID tests and brief surveys about your health. Don't want to get a COVID-19 booster? That's okay too. You can still join the Beehive study and receive up to $550 for completing the weekly COVID tests and surveys. Help advance research at the University of Utah while taking care of yourself this season. Call 801-203-0320 or email beehivestudy@utah.edu to learn more. You can also visit the study website at beehivestudy.com.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
It's the dead of winter, and our friends at Advanced Window Products have a wonderful wintertime offer. This is Jeff Kaplan. If the cold is seeping into your house right now, Nate and Jake will give you $2,500 off on double-pane windows and the highest quality custom frames built right here in Utah. Any style, any color, and the $2,500 is atop their already low prices. See, they build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. So there's no middleman markup. At Advanced Window Products, they offer 0% financing. You can save now, pay later, so take advantage in the dead of winter while the wind is whistling and give your home, your number one asset, a fresh new look. Plus, you save money on heating and air conditioning, so much so the energy companies offer rebates. Buy local. Their factories right here in Salt Lake City. Save an extra $2,500 off the best windows and frames in Utah. 801-850-9100. 801-850-9100. Or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Jeff Kaplan's Minute of News. We're committed to letting you know exactly what's going on. On our show, we're going to bring you up to speed on what's happening in the world to this moment. At the same time, the news can be really burdensome. It can leave you feeling a little bit depressed and even a little bit more depressed. My Minute of News is just a moment to lift you up. I'm blessed that KSL has given me the freedom to talk about whatever I want. Literally, it is my minute of news. Sometimes it's pegged to what's happening that very day. Sometimes it might be something bizarre that you didn't know happening somewhere else in the world. To make you smile for a moment, even on a difficult day, and make you realize the world is still spinning. I am so honored that so many people have appreciated and enjoy the Minute of News every afternoon.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Jason Jones.
Well, good news for those of you who are in Tooele trying to make your way into the Salt Lake Valley. I-80 has reopened. They got that semi uprighted and out of the way. Also, the trailer's gone. So everything looking good now. It's a little slow still around Lake Point, but that's all clearing out. And the further we go along, obviously, that's going to clear out quite a bit better. We do have an accident. It is on the 201 eastbound as you head into the Salt Lake Valley, right before you even get to the 202. It's off to the right shoulder, but a little bit of slow traffic there. Otherwise, we do have this construction that's going on eastbound on the 215 at the State Street off-ramp. It's got the right lane affected there. It's mostly in the shoulder, but it kind of leaks out into the right lane. So slow down a little bit and use some caution if you're going to exit at State Street. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
And KSL weather, cloudy today, rain showers continue, and then we'll see some more rain by tomorrow. Our overnight low will be down in the upper 40s, but the high today, 50, and tomorrow up to 53. And right now, we've got cloudy skies we haven't had a shower yet today around here, but that's what's going on at the moment. It's, again, 48 degrees. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well done, Ogden High School. They're rolling out a new policy, Taylor, which will keep cell phones out of the classroom. I love it. I love it. I love it. In a moment, we're going to have a live interview with the school district spokesperson to ask them if parents are and kids are receptive to this. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. You just bought a cell phone for one of your kiddos.
Yeah, a 13-year-old. He's in 8th grade.
Is he allowed to use it in class, Taylor?
No, he is not.
What's your dad policy?
Well, he's a good kid. I am so lucky that he is a rule follower. And in fact, sometimes during the day, I'll be texting him, something dumb or a joke or a meme, whatever. And I will get a text back during the lunch hour from my son that says, Dad, I'm at school. Please don't text me.
I love this.
So he's a good kid. I know that his teachers already have a no phones out. It has to stay in the backpack or wherever. I understand that it gets harder and harder the older kids get, especially into high school.
Hi, Jer.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be on with you guys, especially because it seems like usually when I join the Dave and Dujanovic show, it's always to talk about something positive.
Jer Bates, a former coworker of mine here at Broadcast House, always fun to talk to you about what I think is something positive going on in the Ogden School District. So this is at Ogden High School, right?
It's at Ogden High School. But this is the thing, and while I appreciate the news momentum that this story has generated, it's really, we look at it as not being something that's all that revolutionary or groundbreaking. In fact, we had already implemented a similar policy at Ben Lomond High School earlier this year, and to be honest, no one batted an eye. The thing is, and I really appreciate what Taylor just said, a lot of kids, they really are rule followers. If you just say, kids, these are the rules, they will follow them. The big difference here, you guys, is that it's simply applying uniformity to the rule. Because at Ogden High School previously, in most of our classrooms, we've had some form, one or another, of no cell phone policy. However, it wasn't uniform. Teachers didn't have a set expectation for how they would enforce the policy. Now what we've done is we've taken out the ambiguity, and everybody knows a certain set of rules from one class to another.
I think that's so helpful. One of the things that comes to my mind as I think high schoolers and cell phones, this device is going to be with them throughout the rest of their life, in their jobs, in social settings, and kids need to learn how to deal with technology and with their phones and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So I think this is so helpful.
Absolutely. We agree completely. And that's part of what we want to recognize with parents, with our community, is just like you said, these devices aren't going away. What we need to do then is help these young people understand how to use them responsibly and effectively.
Jer Bates from the Ogden School District live on the line with us right now, as Ogden has implemented what Ben Lomond had already implemented, which is a no cell phone policy in the classroom. The governor also asking school districts across the state to do the same. He asked that a few weeks ago. He sent out a letter to school districts and said, let's keep the cell phones out of classrooms so kids can learn without distractions. There's also this 3-strike system that I read about with the district, but it sounds like the way your kids are behaving there, Jerry, you guys won't have to get to the 3rd strike. It sounds like they're following the rules.
Yeah, I actually was communicating with our school principal just before we went on the air together to say, how are things going this morning? Her response, it's all quiet. We've had some students say that they're getting more work done in class.
No strikes.
And that might be a big revelation to 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds, but when you think about it, really it applies to anybody. If I sit down at my desk and I start to work instead of picking up my phone to play Words with Friends, shocker, I get more work done that way. So
right.
it really, just like Taylor said, again, it's something that we're just now instilling with these students at a younger age for having a certain expectation of how to use these responsibly.
What I like about the 3-strike system is when I read what strike 3 is, it's not like you're going to throw the kids out of school and expel them or anything like that. It's like if you get to the 3rd strike, then you have a meeting or something like that with your parents, right? Which makes sense. That makes
Exactly
sense.
right. And we don't expect this to be something that will happen on a very frequent basis. But if it does, that's the important part. If a student is having that difficult of a time adjusting to this change, it's not going to be about, well, we've just got to punish this student or this is a bad student. It's got to be about, why is this student having such a difficult time adjusting to this change? Let's bring the family in and work together to try to see if we can't find the root of the problem and then work for a solution that fits for this student.
So, Joe, just real quick, they basically have to keep it in their backpack or in a locker or something like that. Is that the deal?
That's exactly right. The ideal preference would be, we don't even though we've put them in place, we don't want to use these lockers. The idea is, hey, you come to class, you put it in your backpack, we never see it, It's not a problem. The lockers are simply in place to help really reinforce that message of, hey, if you do take it out in class, the teacher sees it, that's where it's going to go.
What about watches? What about my Apple Watch? If I buy one of those for my 13-year-old, and perhaps that's just a bad idea and I won't do that, but you can text, you can use apps, you can do all kinds of things on your watch. Is this school district looking at addressing that in any way?
So for right now, we want to start with just applying and enforcing the cell phone policy, see how that works. The one thing that we need to keep in mind with watches, while, yes, they do have so many of those same capabilities, there's not nearly as much, at least in our schools at this point, not nearly as much saturation with those things like Apple Watches as we do have with the smartphones. Every single kid has a smartphone.
Now, what about parents? Do I need to worry about a 3-strike policy for me if I am texting or trying to call my 8th grader? Because honestly, he is such a good kid that if anybody's getting in trouble, it's my fault.
Love it.
Well,
you have to go back to the drawing board on that one, Jer.
I'm not going to say I've given you a strike yet, but I'm going to call this one a warning.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jared. Jared Bates with the Ogden School District calling us this morning about this policy that went into effect at Ogden High School, already in effect at Ben Lomond. No cell phones in the classroom. I say wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I do think, to your point, Taylor, a lot of the texting, I mean, it's probably for friends. I'm not going to discount that friends are texting friends.
Yeah.
But I think parents are also getting in the way of their kids' learning.
No doubt. Debbie, I am embarrassed at how often I try to communicate.
You're just trying to tell a funny dad joke?
Dad jokes, funny pictures. If I see something cool, I'll think about him and send it to him. I'm a problem.
You are, but that's okay because I think other parents are problems too, and we're all learning. We're all learning this together. We also posted this to our KSL News Radio Facebook page, and here's the question, and we want live phone calls straight ahead. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. So if you want to weigh in on Facebook, that's great. We love it, but we love your live phone calls too. Ogden High School is saying no more to cell phones in the classroom. Do you wish your child's high school would do the same? Looking forward to your live calls in 3 minutes.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
When you choose Performance Automotive in Bountiful, you're choosing selection, convenience, and exceptional service. 4 locations: Performance Ford Lincoln, Performance Honda, Performance Toyota, and Ford Truck Country. All dedicated to delivering you the best auto experience anywhere. Looking for your first car? Maybe you want rugged power or the stylish ride of your dreams. New or used. See it all at PerformanceBountiful.com. PerformanceBountiful.com.
If there's a problem during your siding, gutter, or window installation project, most contractors will try to hide it, ignore it, or blame someone else. It's called passing the buck or turning a blind eye, or my favorite, finger pointing. My question is, where is the accountability? Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and look, sometimes problems just happen, no matter who you hire. Maybe the wrong color siding gets delivered, despite the order being placed perfectly, or maybe a downspout gets cut short. Honestly, it could be anything. At RGS Exteriors, mistakes are rare. But if something goes wrong, I can absolutely, positively, 100% guarantee you we'll never hide it, and we'll never pass the buck. We'll make certain everything turns out right for you. That's people over profits. That's the RGS Exteriors way. For a free estimate on siding, gutters, or windows, call 801-280-3110, rgsexteriors.com, rgsexteriors.com.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie. Now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night too. Did you have a clue?
No, but you know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, past couple of years have been good for Utah's movie industry. Second, staging a presidential debate will be expensive for the University of Utah. Third, retailers investing in artificial intelligence to make shopping easier. Right now, 48 degrees and cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Look, we're going to get to your live phone calls in just a moment, asking the question, as if you would love it if your kid's school followed in the footsteps of Ogden High, which is banning cell phones in the classroom. 801-575-TALK is the number to call. But before we take your calls, get your opinions on this, I want to remind you it is secret contest time. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. Did you subscribe to our podcast?
Yes, and I actually listen too.
Right
Debbie.
on. I know
going after these AirPods.
I know you do listen because you often come in here when you are co-hosting for Dave when he's off for the day. Of course, you host KSL at night, and you'll say something about a take I had 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, you do listen to the show,
I do listen.
Taylor.
I really do not like listening to myself, though. So I don't listen to
skip those
KSL
podcasts?
at night, but I do listen to you and Dave.
Well, let me tell you what. You're going to want to listen to all of the podcast episodes. So go to kslpodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And then make sure you subscribe because we love when you subscribe. And then listen. You're going to be listening for some keywords. And Dave's voice is on the keywords, so you'll be listening for that. And then once you hear it, you're going to want to text it to 57500, okay? And what's up for grabs? You will be entered to win. You could get a pair of AirPod Pros out of this deal, which I think is a great gift if you win it in February to give away to your sweetheart for Valentine's Day.
Perfect. That's perfect, Debbie.
So we've been talking about Ogden High School. They have a new policy banning cell phones in classrooms.
These devices aren't going away. What we need to do then is help these young people understand how to use them responsibly and effectively.
That's Ogden School District spokesperson Jared Bates, who was just on the line with us live a few minutes ago, and he said this policy has been well received, which is great news.
Yeah.
The kids feel, he just checked in with one high school principal today, feel they're already getting more work done in the classroom.
And Debbie, I really like how he pointed out that kids are already adhering to this in some ways, shapes, and forms across the district. And I assume that that is also the case statewide, really. But having some clear expectations, some uniformity in the policy across a school, across a district, I think that is so helpful because I think when kids have clear expectations, and perhaps parents, I think parents, we need some clear expectations as well. But when there is uniformity and when we have clarity, I think that really goes a long way to helping us all do better.
I want to play this clip from our interview that we just did with Jared Bates live on the radio, and then I have some thoughts about what he says.
Really, we look at it as not being something that's all that revolutionary or groundbreaking. In fact, we had already implemented a similar policy at Ben Lomond High School earlier this year, and to be honest, no one batted an eye. The thing is, and I really appreciate what Taylor just said, a lot of kids they really are rule followers. If you just say, kids, these are the rules, they will follow them. The big difference here, you guys, is that it's simply applying uniformity to the rule. Because at Ogden High School previously, in most of our classrooms, we've had some form, one or another, of no cell phone policy. However, it wasn't uniform. Teachers didn't have a set expectation for how they would enforce the policy. Now what we've done is we've taken out the ambiguity, and everybody knows a certain set of rules from one class to another.
Here's my mom take on why kids are not, revolting against this new policy. They're ready for it.
Yeah. And I think they might just
They're exhausted.
Would they like it, perhaps?
Yes. Absolutely. And I'll get to something that I learned from my then 17-year-old, maybe almost now 10 years ago, when we put in new rules, household rules about cell phones at night, overnight. Kids are ready for it. They are experiencing cell phone fatigue. Their minds are going a million miles an hour like ours are, trying to get so much done at school and also deal with what's going on in their cell phone. They're ready for some rules. And they have been for a long time. It's just taken us a long time as adults to get to this point where we've said, okay, it's too distracting. From Capitol Hill to the school district offices, they're recognizing that there needs to be this one set of rules in place that once you cross the classroom door, got to put the cell phone away. And for the most part, they're keeping them in their backpacks.
Yeah.
When we implemented a no cell phone rule overnight in our own home, about 10 years ago, when my kids were all still at home, our oldest was 17, and then our youngest was probably 14. We had a lot of kids in 3.5 years. That's all I got to say. It was like it was a lot of kids. 3 kids. My oldest and my second oldest are Irish twins. So I said, look, I can't do this anymore overnight. I'm too worried about the creeps that are out there.
Yeah.
I can't keep an eye. I
so
got to
you
sleep.
had the kids put
they
their
had
phones
in the room.
Your room?
No, they had them in their rooms. I don't even know why we went down that road, but we did. And they were late bloomers with getting cell phones because we restricted that.
Yeah.
Or smartphones. They shared one pink flip phone, the Razor.
Ooh, the Razor.
They passed it down
That's a
from
flashback,
daughter
yeah.
to son to daughter. And then we finally said, okay, it's time for you to start adulting now at 16. You got to get some smartphones. And I said, we got to park them. So we created parking spots on the kitchen counter.
Parking spots
for phones.
Okay.
And
did adults follow this policy too, or just kids only?
Yeah, I did. Well, here's the deal: I was on call all the time because I was
fair.
working for the FBI, and that when they asked me to be their spokesperson, they said it was 24/7. They meant it.
Yes.
They literally meant it. There was always some case I was having to answer my phone about going on in the division, even at 3:00 in the morning. So I put it on. I put it on breakthrough mode or whatever, so the boss could get a hold of me.
Right.
But kids parked it, and my oldest pulled me aside one day. It was like she didn't want to let the younger two know that she'd realized that this is a valid new policy. She said, "Thank you, thank you." I had lost sight of how much this was impacting my sleep.
Oh yes.
And I was just becoming obsessed with the comments were overnight.
I have a hard time falling asleep. And just over the last few weeks, I have set up my wind down and my sleep settings on my phone so that all notifications, except for immediate family members, but all other notifications, emails, text messages, they don't even show up. And I will tell you, it has made such a difference for me being able to wind down and actually go to sleep at a reasonable time.
I lost my phone this weekend. It was a temporary thing, but I didn't really lose it. I left it in a room, and I walked away. And when I don't put my contacts or my glasses on, I can't see a thing. So everything blurs together if it's more than 10 feet in front of me. And I wandered around the house because I don't want to put my contacts in. And I also didn't know where my glasses were at the time. I wandered around.
This sounds kind
aimlessly.
of dangerous, Debbie.
Well, I don't get in the car and drive.
Okay.
Usually. Occasionally I have, by accident. I turn right back around, hit a few curbs, crash through the front door, and then I grab them. I'm good. But I realized it was awesome. So I stopped looking for my cell phone.
Okay.
I'm like, what, so what? It's like a Saturday or something. I'm like, what do I care?
Yeah.
What email's coming in right now? I do care. I read all the emails that come eventually. But
It's okay to take some time off.
Yeah, and I put it aside for when I did find it. By the way, it was on the kitchen counter.
Of course it was. Yeah.
Right by the coffee pot. It was literally,
Right
I don't know,
there.
it looked like a coffee mug without your glasses on. I practically had the whole...
I worry about your vision, Debbie.
It is bad. I had a
pretty
whole
bad.
morning without it. And that's what our kids are longing for, you guys.
Yeah.
Parents, this is what our kids are longing for. They want to be able to go to school like it's 1975.
And our kids need this because as they grow up, they will only continue to have a cell phone with them by their side. We need to learn boundaries, and we need to teach our kids how to live and be productive with a phone and without it.
Good for Ogden High School. Good for Ben Lomond High School in the Ogden District for doing this. You've gone through the wall and putting cell phones in the backpacks during class time. Straight ahead, Boyd Matheson joining Taylor and I about the conflict over the border wall.
I'm a little confused how it's worse than I expected when it builds border wall, expands deportation flights, expands ICE officers, Border Patrol officers.
The fight in D.C. next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. University of Utah plans to host a presidential debate this year, and taxpayers could be footing the bill, which will be at least $6.5 million. KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston.
This is Utah's second major national debate in the last 4 years. The last one was a vice presidential debate between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris. The University of Utah only requested $1.5 million in 2020, according to a request for funding for him. The cost has jumped partly because the COVID-19 pandemic lowered the number of attendees back in 2020. Nearly all the requested money this year will go to heightened physical and digital security.
There is a possibility the October 9th debate won't even happen if the Republican or Democrat nominees choose to skip it. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The United States will take more action against Iranian-backed militants in the Middle East in response to the deadly attack on U.S. troops last week in Jordan. That pledge from White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan during an interview on ABC's This Week. Retired Army General and ABC News contributor Robert Abrams says it will likely take more than airstrikes to protect U.S. troops in the region.
We should all understand the limits of the military element of national power. It can be successful in disrupting these attacks against U.S. troops, but it's going to take a combination of military action and diplomacy to get it to stop.
U.S. forces hit multiple targets in Syria and Iraq last week, and additional targets in Yemen over the weekend. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day, 291 points right now, while the NASDAQ is down 39 points. And our KSL weather looks like the rain is back for a while. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
For over 100 years and 4 generations, my family has provided quality installations from the most well-known brands in the heating and air conditioning industry. Hello, I'm Brian Jackson with Manuel Plumbing and Heating. Now, until March 1st, purchase a high-efficient home comfort system and receive a free bypass humidifier or a 5-inch media filter to complete your new system. Give us a call and let one of our knowledgeable sales staff provide a free in-home consultation on what Manuel can do for you and your home. Be sure to ask about rebates and our financing options. Call Manuel today, 801-262-4671.
Tuacahn Amphitheater 72-hour ticket sale is here. From February 6th to the 8th, you can save big. This is the first time to save on individual show tickets. When you buy a ticket of any of Tuacahn's 5 never-before-seen Broadway shows this season, you'll get the second one at up to 50% off. You can also get access to the brand new cushioned seats in rows A through O before they're sold out. Just use promo code 72radio at checkout. Traverse across Europe in Anastasia. Let It Go in Disney's Frozen. And follow the rise of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons in Jersey Boys, featuring a new PG-rated script. Indoors, be inspired by the songs of Johnny Cash in Ring of Fire and catch the holiday spirit with Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol. Take advantage of this once-a-year sale before it's gone. Visit tuacon.org and use code 72radio at checkout. That's tuacon.org.
ARUP needs you for platelets. Join KSL's Tim, Amanda, Dave, and Deb to learn more about how you can help your community through your life-saving donation. Visit utahblood.org.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
Once again, the 21st South Freeway is open by the I-80 freeway is open by the 201 junction. All earlier delays have cleared out. We do have a couple of problems. One is a new accident is southbound I-215 up at the north end just after the Legacy Parkway junction. It's been moved to the shoulder. And then we also have an accident at the south interchange on the ramp between I-215 South Belt and southbound I-15. Mr. Max buy one, get one sale. Buy one suit for $299. Get the second one for $100. Any style, any occasion, free alterations and 9 locations. Mr. Mac, Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, showers come back today, continue the next several days. We'll also get additional snow in the mountains. Right now, we're looking at 48 degrees with mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Becky Bruce in for the newsroom right now with an announcement about King Charles's health. Beck?
Yeah, Buckingham Palace has just announced that the king has been diagnosed with a form of cancer, although they have not told us what type. We know that he recently was hospitalized for what they called benign prostate enlargement. And during that hospital procedure is apparently when they discovered a separate, quote, issue of concern. We now know that's some form of cancer. They have not said what exact type or at what stage it has been found. We expect to learn more in the coming days. But again, King Charles diagnosed with cancer.
Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
You know, Becky's back in the newsroom running that way to get more information on that while we bring Boyd Matheson onto the show. Taylor Morgan in today. For Dave Noriega, a little bit of musical chairs here. I'm trying to keep everybody's name straight. But speaking of musical chairs and a lot of craziness that's going on in Washington, D.C., let's focus on what they are doing or not going to do with the $118 billion package that they're coming up, at least from the Senate, with for border security, Taylor.
Yeah, this is everything that is wrong with Congress. And Boyd, I've heard you talk about this already, so I won't steal your thunder, but when Congress intentionally refuses to even take a vote or debate on something that, if it's not the number one issue facing our country today, I'm not sure what else is. We have a lot of things, but border security on the southern border crisis is not as strong enough of a word, Boyd, and the House is not even willing to take a vote, not even debate it. They've said, no thank you, no how, we're not interested.
Yeah, and so interesting over the weekend. So up until 7 o'clock last night when they released the text of the bill, you had those who were against it, including Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, saying it's dead on arrival. Hadn't even seen the text. You also had people on the left saying everybody's got to get on board. This is the answer. if you don't accept this, you're an idiot. And they hadn't seen the text either. And then the real irony of ironies, and how sad this is to your point, Taylor, is this is all politics. You have Republicans now screaming against things they have been screaming for for decades. And you have Joe Biden saying, give me power to shut down the border, things that he's never said in 40 years.
Yeah.
And so everybody's flipped. And why have they flipped? Because of the politics of it.
It's an election year. If you take away the biggest problem, what are we going to yell about when we're trying to get elected?
Or raise money.
That's right.
I want to go deeper in just a moment on what that legislation looks like coming out of the Senate. But Senator James Lankford, Republican, was on the committee or part of the planning process for this multi-billion-dollar package. And I heard him this morning on ABC News, he was peeved at what Republicans were saying about it.
I'm a little confused how it's worse than I expected when it builds border wall, expands deportation flights, expands ICE officers, Border Patrol officers.
So they're fighting within their own party, Boyd.
They are, and the Democrats are doing the same thing. And I actually really like James Lankford. He is a good human being, and I think he got into this for all the right reasons, and now he is flummoxed. I mean, he is frustrated that some within his own party are yelling against things they've always yelled for. And again, it's the politics of it. And I still firmly believe this. If the three of us went to Washington today and we opened something on the floor of the House and the Senate, we could solve 94% of immigration in an afternoon because everybody agrees.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees. We need a border. We need an entry-exit system. We need to know who comes in and who goes out. We need to make it easier to come here legally than it is to come illegally and have the right incentives. We need H-1Bs. Everybody agrees on all of that. The thing they disagree on is the politics of power. It's the idea of power, not the power of ideas, that is the problem in all of this. And everybody is afraid. Everyone's afraid of, what if we lose this point and we don't win the election? What if we lose this point and we lose those important voters in Arizona or Colorado or Texas? And so it's all politics all the time, and that is the problem.
What are the highlights of this proposal that stood out to you, Boyd?
So I think some of the key components there, one, dealing with the asylum process. So it's supposed to tighten that up a little bit to make that part of a better, more robust kind of screening at the border. Kind of the flip side of that. So right now you have someone who comes in, they claim asylum. There's really an inability to screen. Are they really a just cause as an asylum seeker?
Yeah.
And then their hearing is going to be 3 years from now. And so then they're just off into the system. Very few come back for that. So it's supposed to tighten that up on the front end and have a bigger screening process. So there's money in there for more screeners to do that as part of Homeland Security. And then for those who do qualify, there is actually a work permit process that they can have as well. So if they are a legitimate asylum seeker, they can actually have work while they're waiting to go through that process. So that's kind of one component to it. There's some fentanyl components to it. And a few other provisional things. And then, of course, the big one is what the president says, give me the power and I'll shut down the border.
Yeah.
At 5,000. So the 5,000
Doesn't he already have the power to do this?
Okay. He actually can't do that.
Okay.
Any president could technically do that.
What do you mean at the 5,000 mark?
So so if there is an excess of 5,000 people coming across the border on over a rolling 7-day period, then the president can just stop everything and say, we're not taking anybody else. We're going to slow this down. We're going to assess and adjust. So, but again, it's like Taylor said, he actually already has that power.
Going into an election year, Boyd, is there any hope whatsoever that Congress will take this up, or is it just totally DOA?
So I think the interesting thing, here's where the challenge will be, and this goes back to, Debbie, where you began with some of the internal fighting within the Republicans. I think the key is going to be what the vote is in the Senate. If there are only 10 Republicans who get on board and get it passed in the Senate, then I don't think it will get much of a hearing in the House. If you get 20 or more Republican senators on board in the Senate, then the pressure dynamics change immensely for Mike Johnson in the House. So I think it's going to be dependent on what role does Mitch McConnell continue to play? Does he really put the screws to everybody in terms of getting this through? And just to be clear, McConnell's interest in this is Ukraine.
Yes.
It is not the border.
Right, because this package includes funding, big funding.
The biggest
Ukraine.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Say over 62 million of this is just funding for Ukraine, and then next in line is Israel. Then there's some other aid for humanitarian aid into Gaza, and then the final thing is the border portion of it.
Boyd, I just want to get 30 seconds of this in. You said you mentioned the political football that this has been for so many years. 1995, President Bill Clinton at the State of the Union.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why
Since
our
Clinton,
administration
we've
has
had
moved
2
aggressively to
Republicans
secure our
and
borders
2 Democrats as president.
Yeah.
And that's the same rhetoric we're hearing today.
It is Groundhog Day over and over and over again, and we're going to continue to see that, sadly. And in the process, we impact real people. And one of the interesting things, we're actually going to have Eric Boehm on from Reason at 1:50 today to talk about how if we modify that in terms of who can come in and work in the country, it actually helps us with our other big issue, which is the national debt and our deficit spending. That immigration can actually be part of that solution, which is exactly what Bill Clinton was alluding to all the way back in the 90s.
But Boyd, now you're going to make it even harder for me to raise political money. Stop taking away all the problems.
Thanks, Boyd. So looking forward to that discussion today in Boyd's show from 1 to 3. Next, Taylor and I were talking about this in the 9 o'clock hour. We're going to go back to it today because I didn't get just right now, next. I didn't get everything out that I wanted to say about this. So Governor Cox went to the southern border. It was a day trip to the southern border yesterday, which is, I think, better than no trip. But he did say something about meth and fentanyl crossing the border, making its way to Utah that I hadn't heard before.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
The last thing you want in the morning is more noise.
The day's just getting started. Maybe you're feeling a little anxious or overwhelmed, and it's not even 8 yet.
So catching up on important news stories, some sense of weather and traffic, it shouldn't be stressful.
Get a wrap on the day ahead from smart, inviting voices who know you're trying to ease in.
Do you love a rainy day?
I do, actually.
I do too.
Tim and Amanda, mornings from 5 to 9. They have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Where does a journey to wellness begin? Do you start looking for diet ideas? Or searching for exercise plans? Actually, you don't have to look far. Just look to the first 2 letters of the word wellness. We means you don't have to figure it out yourself. It means your hopes and challenges are a perfect match for our knowledge and resources. It means anything you want to achieve, together, we can achieve better. Because wellness begins with we. Intermountain Health, the power of we.
New home for the new year? Sounds nice, doesn't it? What about new lowered rates? Now's the time to step into a gorgeous new Nilsson home with less commute times, easy access, and with rates that have dropped more significantly than all year. Less really is more in this case. Less maintenance, less commute, and less money per month. Move north with Nilsson Homes. Choose from beautiful townhomes to Rambler communities for all stages of life. Most of all, Nilsson Homes are move-in ready and close to what you love and enjoy with easy commutes. Nilsson Homes has been building across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years, accommodating all the things you need, combined with the things you love. Make sure to ask about end-of-year promotional savings. Experience your new home for the new year. Visit Nilsson Homes Communities at nilssonhomes.com. NILSON homes.com. That's nilssonhomes.com.
Les Olson IT now provides building security solutions. Do you need physical access control for your facilities? Are you looking for video surveillance systems accessible in the palm of your hand? Les Olson IT has what you need, and their low-voltage network cabling specialists will install it and make sure it's working the way it should. Learn more at lesolson.com.
Les Olson IT.
Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart.
This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333. Valentine's Day is here. This year, give the ultimate gift. Name a star after your sweetheart. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For 45 years, we've named millions of stars for celebrities, dignitaries, and individuals worldwide. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can give the most memorable gift. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm blessed that KSL has given me the freedom to talk about whatever I want. Literally, it is my minute of news. It might be something bizarre that you didn't know. Sometimes it's pegged to what's happening that very day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, University of Utah asking for more than $6 million to hold a presidential debate this fall. Second, Girl Scout cookies will still be $5 a box. Here in Utah, the prices have gone up in other parts of the country. And third, King Charles III has been diagnosed with a form of cancer, though Buckingham Palace hasn't told us exactly what the issue is yet. Right now, 48 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We appreciated Boyd's analysis on what is going on with the debate in Washington, D.C. about this near $20 billion border security package that may or may not make its way out of the Senate.
Yeah, Debbie, it is actually a funding bill for aid in Ukraine tied to a border package. So, look, Congress it's a mess, Debbie. I mean, maybe a good place to start would be, let's just take on one thing at a time. I not to sound like I'm the biggest fan of the Utah legislature, but one thing we do right here is that a bill has to be a single subject in the law. We can't just package things in politically to try to win over votes or build coalitions and really make a mess of everything. It has to be a single subject. I wish Congress could do that.
Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega, and so grateful for Boyd. Also, not only his analysis, but also teeing us up for our discussion right now about the governor of Utah making a day trip to the southern border.
You're really just hounding him on this day trip, Debbie. Give the governor a break. He went.
I will say, I did listen to his press conference last night with the local media when he got back into town, and I will say it looked like he had tired eyes. I could tell. It is quite a trip to get down there to Eagle Pass, Texas.
None of this is a secret. It's something we've been talking about for years, but things have gotten significantly worse, especially over the past year. It's a record number of illegal migrants who cross the border illegally, and we're talking about 3.2 million people in just the last calendar year. And to put that into perspective, there are 3.4 million people in the state of Utah right now.
I will give the governor credit for going down, joining some other governors that were there at the border, drawing attention to the crisis there. Some might say it's more of a PR stunt or an attempt to score some political points. But look, any attention on the crisis at our southern border, I think, is a helpful thing because we need to know what's happening. We need to see the people, and people are dying because we cannot process them coming into our country in anything resembling a safe or efficient way.
I want to set that very important topic aside for just a moment. And I also want to set aside the topic of, working and giving people the opportunity to work in our country and in Utah. And I want to shoot right ahead to where the governor answered KSL5 Television's Shelby Lofton's question. It was a great question about the Utah impact. and the border crisis and its impact on drugs, hard drugs coming into Utah, methamphetamine, fentanyl, which is killing people like on a dime.
Yeah.
Fentanyl is so potent, it's so poisonous to our systems if you just a little bit too much. And we all know that drugs being trafficked across the border aren't regulated. They're not regulated, so we don't know how much stuff is in there. And people are buying this stuff on the streets. And the governor addressed that when he returned from Mexico.
The fentanyl numbers, as
Excuse
well
me, from
as
Texas.
the meth numbers, the P2P meth, and some of the most damaging drugs that are out there. The numbers that are being apprehended at the border are just they're mind blowing, and we know what that translates into. We know that those are pills that are coming across. Far too often, a young person thinking they're taking an Adderall or something to help on a test ends up taking something that's laced with fentanyl and loses their life. So we have overdoses. You see people, the new meth that's coming across over the past couple of years leaves people in kind of a zombie state. It's increasing homelessness across our country and addiction. And you can literally walk through downtown Salt Lake City and see the impacts of those drugs that are coming across the border with Mexico.
He's absolutely right, Debbie. And I think this is what I appreciate most about Governor Cox's visit to the border there in Texas is he's bringing it home here to Utah, because indeed what is happening on our southern border is having a direct and a catastrophic impact here inside our state. And we may like to think we're less impacted because Arizona is between us and the border. Other states are border states. We're not a border state, but
we're buffered.
Every state in this country is a border state, and we are all being impacted. We're losing lives in our communities. It is truly a crisis that Utahns feel every day.
Well, let me tell you what I know from my professional career as a journalist, almost entirely, exclusively, except for the 2 years I worked in Arizona. 9 months of that was on the border in Yuma. I was a reporter in Yuma. And then I moved here in 1990. And what I know is that we are at a point now where I feel like we've gotten, like the toothpaste is so far out of the tube in Utah. And it's not just exclusive to Salt Lake City. It is a crisis in neighborhoods and communities all across the state. That fentanyl is killing people and making it into our neighborhoods like never before. So that's fentanyl, which is an extremely potent drug that's often peppered or laced into other drugs. So we've got the fentanyl crisis upon us, and I'm looking, and it's like I feel like not a day goes by where we don't get a press release here at KSL from one of our multiple police departments across Utah that are working day in and day out to get their arms around this issue and make arrests of people. Some of them are Utah citizens, frankly. Some of them are here illegally. But this has become such a crisis that there's just no way for our police departments to completely get their arms around it.
Yeah.
When they get one person arrested, 3 more dealers pop up. And this is not just a fentanyl situation. When I got here in the 1990s, we were number 1 per capita in the United States for methamphetamine, making it here in the state of Utah. We weren't even outsourcing it to Mexico back then.
Wow.
We were making it in homes, in kitchens, in basements, in bathrooms, in backyard sheds here in the state of Utah. By Utahns, homemade by Utahns, who were also blowing their own homes up and blowing themselves up in the process, because what I know about meth making, unfortunately, is a lot because of because of my research as a reporter. It is a concocted cocktail of a bunch of potentially explosive stuff. And so what they left in their wake after we finally got the scourge kind of pushed out of Utah and it went to Mexico and in many cases the desert, they're making this in the desert, we got a bunch of meth homes. So homes that were, laced with dangerous chemicals and the byproduct of meth, these chemicals, which is actual meth. What my point is that we also have a huge use problem in this state.
Yeah. There's demand, clearly.
There's a huge demand for this. So I want to back this issue up even further and say, what are we doing about that problem? Because we know that people use meth to stay awake. People use other drugs because they think it makes them feel good. They're using it to deal with their depression. They're using it to deal with the expectations on their life, or what they think is the expectation of them from their parents or their friends or their family members or their kids or whatever the case may be. We have a huge issue going on in this state. We do need to do a lot about what's going on at the border. But we also have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what are we doing to help people who are going and buying these drugs in the first place?
So much of this is about mental health. And
I
can speak from personal experience in my own family. And listen, there is probably not a Utahn alive today that doesn't have someone in their extended family, a neighbor, a close friend. We all know people who have dealt with addiction or who are currently dealing with it. And we have to be able to talk about it, and we have to be able to address the underlying mental health issues, because it is real and it's only getting worse.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. The University of Utah planning for a presidential debate this fall, but it may not happen if one of the candidates decides not to participate. Jason Perry with the Hinckley Institute of Politics says it's hard to know for sure at this point.
As recently as December, President Trump said that he's still willing to do these debates. This is part of the dialogue. It's a candidate decision, not a party decision, really, about whether or not they have these debates. And
the U is asking the legislature for $6.5 million to cover the cost of the debate if it goes ahead. Girl Scout cookies in some parts of the country will be more expensive this year. Here in Utah, though, still $5 a box. The Utah Girl Scout Council says you can order them now from Girl Scouts in your neighborhood or order them online starting February 16th. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Britain's King Charles III has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's being advised to postpone his public-facing duties. The cancer was discovered while the king was hospitalized for a benign prostate procedure, but Buckingham Palace hasn't said just what kind of cancer this is. The king is 75 years old. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is up, or rather down on the day, 285 points right now. The NASDAQ has slipped about 41 points. And our KSL weather looks like we've got rain through most of the week coming up. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Tim and Amanda.
Do I look forward to reporting the news? Yes, insofar as it helps me understand what's happening.
We know that it's important information that's going to impact people's lives, and so that makes the job of reporting the news that day easier.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
Different how? Aren't we all just looking for the hottest stocks?
Nope. We use diversified strategies to position our clients' portfolios for their long-term goals.
You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios?
No, we tailor our clients' portfolios to their goals and needs.
But you still sell investments that generate high commissions for you, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We're a fiduciary, the highest standard of care for a financial advisor. It means we're obligated to act in our clients' best interest.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money?
Yep, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Sounds like you really look out for your clients.
We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly, different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Jeff Kaplan here. Every once in a while, I do my show from home, and you probably wouldn't be able to tell. I'm on KSL and sending video to the internet all at the same time because I have Xfinity Wi-Fi. It's pretty amazing because at the same time, my wife's streaming a movie, grandkids come over, one's watching YouTube, two are playing Minecraft, and others watching a flick, all while Grandma says, "Shh, Papa's on the air." We run all these devices, and I do a show thanks to my reliable, fast connection. Xfinity Wi-Fi is a game changer. Get wall-to-wall Wi-Fi on the Xfinity 10G network for a reliable connection throughout your home. Now through March 21st, new customers can get started with 1.2 gigabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and Wi-Fi equipment included when you add unlimited mobile. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
At KSL News Radio, we have a 30-year legacy of honoring Utah teachers, but we can't do it without your help. Please tell us about an important teacher in your life on the KSL Teacher Tribute Wall, presented by Cypress Credit Union. Each month, one lucky teacher wins a $500 gift card from Cypress Credit Union, a $250 gift card to Harmon's, plus season tickets to Hale Center Theater. Say thanks to your teacher today at kslnewsradio.com/teacher from Cypress Credit Union and KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a traffic light malfunctioning in all directions, exiting off of I-15 at 5300 South in Murray. We had an earlier report of a traffic light flashing at 90th South and State Street. Turns out there is an accident there that affected that traffic light. Crews are still on the scene, and a crash reported Redwood Road about 108 South in South Jordan. Looking for suspense, intrigue, and thrill? Download the new audiobook, The Fear of Silence. Powerful, riveting, 4.6 of 5 stars on Amazon. Everywhere audiobooks are sold. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. Showers come back today, continue the next several days, and we'll also get additional snow in the mountains. Right now, we're looking at 46 degrees under mostly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Well, we're waiting for a live feed from a news conference that's supposed to start any moment now. Actually, it was slated to start at 11:30 with Salt Lake City Chief of Police Mike Brown, and also Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall joining Chief Brown. The word we got is they're going to recap an historic reduction in crime in Salt Lake City in the last year, in 2023. Taylor Morgan in Today for Dave Noriega.
Debbie, I have to wonder, and I don't want to sound too cynical here, but I know that over the last year or two, I have stopped coming to downtown Salt Lake City with my family because, frankly, at night, I don't feel safe downtown Salt Lake City. How much of this is tied to people just doing less in Salt Lake City? Therefore, there's less crime. Is that part of it, or am I just a total skeptic?
I think Salt Lake City has had a hard time making a comeback from the pandemic. I've worked down here for 20 years, since the year 2000, actually. And the best year we ever had in Salt Lake City for a nightlife and lots of fun was in 2002 when we hosted the Winter Olympic Games in February of that year.
Yeah.
And there's been moments of funness, but mostly Salt Lake City is just not really known for being a heyday of fun, a haven of lots of cool things to do at night. There's I love the Eccles Theater. I love going there. I love coming downtown for the arts festival and things like that. But those are like date moments. If I have a date, if you know what I mean, if I have a date. But But those are just like things you schedule in. That's not like, oh, you know what I have in mind, friends? Let's pile in my little mini SUV, and we're going to trek into downtown Salt Lake City on a Friday night. Friday nights, I think, and Saturday nights are mostly in downtown Salt Lake City, are mostly for the younger kids.
Sure.
Lots of bar hopping that goes on, and maybe gathering together at different restaurants and then walking around the city a little bit. But Salt Lake City has, I think, struggled with its nightlife identity for years, and then it got worse during the pandemic. I don't notice as many people in the downtown area when I'm walking around.
Yeah, that's been my experience. And I've been in Salt Lake City downtown over the last month during the legislative session. There are days when I have been either here at the studio at KSL after KSL at night, or I've been leaving the Capitol Hill, driving through downtown. I'm just not seeing people out and about in downtown Salt Lake City nearly as often. And Debbie, I'm glad that Mayor Mendenhall and Police Chief Brown, I believe, is the name. Hopefully that's correct.
Yes, Mike Brown.
Mike Brown. I appreciate their attention to this because I feel like Salt Lake City is at a real tipping point in terms of its future, especially with Major League Baseball, with the future
Great
home
points.
of the Jazz and an NHL team. We know that the Bees have left the ballpark neighborhood. My opinion is in large part due to some of these concerns about homelessness and safety. What will the future be for Salt Lake City, for downtown? There's some big, big things about to happen or happen elsewhere if they're not in Salt Lake City, Debbie.
Let's step away from this for just a moment. We'll wait for that live news conference to begin.
Eye on the Hill 2024. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
And put our eyes back on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are being asked to fund or help fund a presidential debate coming to the University of Utah later this year. And the cost would be $6.5 million to host it. I was like, oh, that's a really big party.
I have some hot takes about this.
Go
Debbie.
ahead, Taylor Morgan. You're a lobbyist on Capitol Hill. Take it away.
Listen, we have a lot of needs in our state. We're also trying to reduce our income tax rate here in Utah. I'm a proud alum of the University of Utah and of the Hinckley Institute of Politics. I'm a big fan of Jason Perry and his work. However, I am not a fan of using taxpayer dollars to pay for this presidential debate. We know there probably won't even be a debate, Debbie. We know that if former President Trump is the nominee, he most likely won't do the debate. And there's value in having the debate, and I love that it's here at the University of Utah on campus. It's great for the students, a lot of positives. But Debbie, why can't the news media pay for this debate? Why can't advertisers pay for the debate? Why can't the political parties pay for the debate? Why do Utah taxpayers have to foot the bill to have a presidential debate? There's plenty of money involved in all different ways around this debate. Why can't the press pay for it? They're the only ones that are going to get access to it. Let them pay for it.
Don't there be tickets sold to this thing? I don't know. Tickets cover the ticket sales.
A handful of students will get tickets, Debbie, but the average Utahn who will be paying for it will have no real way to attend it.
Well, you brought up the name Jason Perry is the vice president for government relations and the director of the Hinckley Institute of Politics. The University of Utah will be hosting the debate, and so they're asking for some money from lawmakers to help fund it. He joined Utah's Morning News this morning. I had the question, what happens to the money if the debate doesn't happen? To your point, Taylor.
Yeah, so we are very, very careful about that. When we start entering into contracts for the materials that have to come on, for the fencing that has to go up, for the infrastructure itself, we're building into all of those contracts a way to recoup costs that that do not end up being needed right there, just to protect the state as well. There's a lot of conversation about whether or not these debates will happen. As recently as December, President Trump said that he's still willing to do these debates. This is part of the dialogue. It's a candidate decision, not a party decision, really, about whether or not they have these debates. And when this happens, which we believe it will, at least that's the history of it, we will be ready. And the only thing we can do for the state of Utah is make sure that we are.
We want to get to the chief of police and the news conference that he's holding right now for Salt Lake City with Mayor Aaron Mendenhall. We've got the audio, guys. Let's listen
America's Peace Wave. Make no mistake, the reduction in crime we have seen here in Salt Lake City is because of the intentional and dedicated work of our officers and our criminal justice partners, including the U.S. Attorney's Office. 2020 posed some of the most challenging times for law enforcement. To those police officers who stayed, thank you. You have proven your willingness to forge through tough times, and you are meeting one of our department's core values, our commitment to our community, and I could not be more thankful. Many police departments grappled in 2020 and 2021 to enact strategies to effectively drive down crime. Here in Salt Lake City, we faced our challenges head on, and we did it the Salt Lake City way. We involved our police family, our community, and listened to and followed the data. We were willing to make changes quickly to disrupt the crime happening in our city, reducing victimization and support survivors of crime. In 2023, Salt Lake City saw nearly a 10% reduction in violent crime, a 12% reduction in property crime, and overall crime in Salt Lake City dropped just over 11%. This is not a fluke, nor is our mission accomplished. Our work is not done. Our successes are because of our strategies and our people. We implemented our violent crime reduction plan and have recentered our police department around a new business model known within law enforcement as stratified policing. While homicides for 2023 remain unchanged when compared to 2022, with 16, I must recognize the tremendous work of our homicide squad. Of the 16 homicides for 2023, none are considered unsolved. One of the 16 homicides has been determined to be self-defense, and 13 of the 16 cases, the District Attorney's Office has issued charges. My heart goes out to the families who have lost loved ones in our city due to violence. These are traumatic cases, no matter the situation.
That is Salt Lake City Chief of Police Mike Brown addressing the media live right now in downtown Salt Lake City about what would be considered a significant drop in the crime rate in the last year across the city. A 10% or 11% overall drop between property crimes on average and also violent crimes. Taylor Morgan in this morning for Dave Noriega. Your initial reaction, Taylor?
No, I think it's encouraging. Clearly there is a need to address this in Salt Lake City. It's been a concern that I live in Draper with my family, but I have stopped bringing my family to downtown Salt Lake City over the last few years because of crime, homelessness, and public safety. So it's something that has impacted me, even though I don't live in downtown Salt Lake.
Let's step away for just a few moments. When we come back, we expect the mayor of Salt Lake City, Aaron Mendenhall, to say something about this drop in the crime rate as well.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
You're free now. Free to kick back, relax, and stream beyond your wildest dreams.
Rom-coms, slasher comps, space operas, space westerns, cupcake bake-offs on Mars.
Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers who chonk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things.
Bowl of chips on the robo-vacuum.
And master devices that have no business being smart.
Smart forks, smart toothbrushes, smart tortilla makers.
Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability. Service in select locations only.
As the new year begins, you and your credit card might be ready for a quiet break. Experience the relief of a low rate with the Mountain America credit card. With a 3% cash bonus on balance transfers, it's more relaxing than ever. Open a Mountain America credit card today for your limited time bonus. Details at macu.com/transfer. Loans and approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Tim and Amanda.
I don't want to be in the dark about things. I'm sure you don't either, Tim. I mean, I want to know what's going on with the weather. Are my kids safe? You know, where is my money going? I want to be informed.
Yeah, the truth is, it's important information for you and your families to make sure that you are informed so that if some changes are necessary in your life or your children's life, you can make them by listening and starting your morning with us here on KSL.
Wake up with Utah's Morning News with Tim and Amanda, 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Utah is a hub for innovators, entrepreneurs, and businesses, each with unique needs. That's why Offbeat Productions, a Park City-based promotional product company, is committed to offering creative branding solutions for businesses of all sizes. Owner Shannon Nellis joins us with more.
Offbeat Productions started out printing t-shirts for rock bands and record companies in the late 80s. Today, we're a lot more than just t-shirts. You name it, and we can put a logo on it. We create high-impact promos that attract attention and business. Our customers range in size from large companies like Adobe and Warner Music to local Utah schools and sports teams. No matter the size of the job, your project means something to us, and we stand behind it. Whether you're ordering 50 shirts for your team or 50,000 for a major event. Plus, at Offbeat Productions, there are so many possibilities for branded items beyond your traditional options. I always recommend putting your brand on something people will keep and use many times over, such as drinkware or bags. To view all of our offerings, visit offbeatproductions.com.
No matter your business's promotional needs, Offbeat Productions has a solution for you. Learn more at their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, King Charles III has been advised to cut back his public duties while he's in treatment for cancer. Was discovered while he was in the hospital for a prostate procedure. Second, whether there will be a presidential debate at the U of U this fall isn't certain at this point. And third, Girl Scout cookies will still be $5 a box in Utah this year, though they may be more expensive in other parts of the country. 46 degrees, mostly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Our very own Amy Kobabe is at this news conference where the chief of police for the Salt Lake City Police Department just announced an average of like 11% drop in crime between property crimes and violent crimes, which in my view is significant. It's certainly better than it going the other way. My understanding is as well that the mayor spoke earlier before the chief. So Amy will bring us the latest with Maria Chaleos at the top of the hour when she reports live on what's going on with this new announcement that just happened, that 2023 stats are going down. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega, and specifically going down with violent crimes and property crimes both.
Yeah. It's trending in a better direction. Anytime you pull out stats, Debbie, I know, look, as someone who works in politics, I often use stats to tell the story I want to tell, not what is really happening. And so comparative to what? Relative to what? What is 10%? What is this actual reduction?
Well, I look at crime data more from a personal perspective. How do I feel?
Yeah.
Do I feel safe in my own community? The chiefs and the mayors can talk all they want, and it's great. I'd rather see a drop in the numbers than an increase any single day. But if I don't feel safe, or maybe work in one area of town where they put maybe extra police patrols, is now pushing the problem to another area of town, and it happens to be in my front yard, and I don't feel safe, then you can talk numbers until my eyes are glazed over and I'm falling asleep. It doesn't matter to me.
Right.
you're going to thank us, though. We're not going to take you live to the PowerPoint presentation they're now doing, because they're going over the crime stats with the reporters there who will be able to break it all down for you. And the good news here, if you do want to look at these numbers on your own, Salt Lake City PD has always done a really good job of putting all of these numbers on their website. You just have to go to the open data tab. So if you've got nothing to do at 1 o'clock in the morning like me, and you wake up and
I worry about you, Debbie.
You should. Caitlin Johnston, you were listening to the chief talk about specifics with the Ballpark neighborhood. For those of you that are new to town, you don't know where the Ballpark neighborhood is, about 13 South in Maine, where the Salt Lake City Bees have played forever and a day. They're now leaving that area in the next year and heading to South Jordan to play at a new stadium. But the chief zeroed in on the crime stats in the Ballpark community. What did you hear?
Yeah, right before they started walking through this dashboard of crime, it stood out to me that he said there was a 23% decrease of violent crime in the Ballpark neighborhood in 2023.
Wow. Well, that would be significant to know for the folks who live there, and hopefully they feel that decrease in crime, because that has been a big complaint from that community.
The last time I attended a Bees game with my two boys, my two kids, we were essentially followed to our car by a homeless person with a knife. And I haven't been back since. With
a knife?
With a knife. I have not been back since to a Bees game with my kids because I don't feel safe there.
Well, I know that our homeless community, members of the homeless community, will hang out around the Ballpark. I would say largely what I've seen is them either asking for money or asking for food. I've never seen anybody, and all the time I've gone down there, follow me or somebody I love to their car with a knife.
Yeah, we were asked for money, and we didn't respond, just kept on walking, but then we're followed. And it was scary, and I didn't want my kids to fully understand what was happening, so I just ushered them in front of me, and we kept walking quickly and got to the car. I got them inside first, and we drove away, but it was unnerving. I'd never had that kind of an experience before. I've lived in big cities on the East Coast, yes, and I had never had that kind of an experience even there. So I haven't been back, and I'm happy to hear this report from Salt Lake City Police Chief Mike Brown that there's been a 23% reduction in violent crime in the Ballpark neighborhood. I don't know that I would feel safe there quite yet.
This is the kind of thing that keeps people away.
Yeah.
I mean, one experience is one too many. And when you're a dad or a mom and you got your kids in the area with you, it is the last
I'm not taking that chance ever.
You want to happen to your kids. You don't want they're too young you don't even want them to experience this moment. Like, okay, what was you don't want to give them okay, what was the lesson we learned there? No, these aren't the kind of moments that you want. I had something similar happen to me. This is many years ago when my daughter and I, for the first time, I'm like, hey, they've got this new tracks train up and running. And this was before they even had UTA police. They just had security guards. I at the end, when you got off, you could tell somebody about something that happened. And a woman pulled a knife, not on us, but on the tracks train. I was with my 5-year-old daughter. And here was this really exciting experience that I had told her was going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Where I was stuck on a train ride with her, with this woman who pulled out, and it wasn't a tiny knife. You know, it was something that, you'd take out of your kitchen drawer, and it's like something you'd see in the movie like Psycho or something like that.
Yeah.
So I really never ever took the train. I ride it all the time now. I mean, I have no issues with it, but once I'm like, I can't do that again. Put my kids on the train.
Exactly.
And now they have much more security, thankfully, on tracks trains. But I hear you, and I understand why you won't go back.
Yeah.
If you missed the news, the mayor and the chief of police for the Salt Lake City Police Department announcing just moments ago that they've seen I think it's a significant drop in crime in 2023. The question I did not hear answered, and this is something that the Salt Lake City Police Department has wrestled with for years, is response times. So for many years, they were struggling to get response times under 10 minutes for the most critical of calls. Like when you dial 911 and you're in that moment where you need a cop right away.
Like someone has been shot or something like that.
This isn't the kind of call like I bumped a curb and now my car won't work and I need to tow. These are the kinds of, the high priority one calls. They've been struggling with those over the years, in part because of staffing issues. in part because of the way they had designed the way they responded, which they redesigned under Chief Brown many years ago. But the bottom line was that people were calling on 911 to get emergency help, and they were waiting 10, 11, up to 11 and a half minutes. So I know our team of reporters and producers are going to be following that development as well today to see if, along with the reduction in crime, has there also been a reduction in response times? Because nobody should have to wait more than 10 minutes in their worst moments.
And really, Salt Lake City has a serious problem right now with homelessness, with public safety, with crime. And I think, like I mentioned before, Debbie, Salt Lake City is at a real tipping point in terms of being marketable as a premier destination city for the Olympics, again, for NHL, for the NBA, for the MLB. We've got to get this figured out in Salt Lake City, and we have to do it now.
Well, you know, often what happens in cities that do bring in lots of exciting activities, crime tends to scatter. So I'll take you back to 2002 in the next couple of seconds that we have left, and I was a news reporter covering the Olympics. One of the big stories I did was we saw a significant reduction in crimes all across the city. There was a buzz. There were people.
Yeah.
They were everywhere. There was criminals scattered. Now, do we push the problem to other areas? Not necessarily. It was like they just left town for those 3 weeks that we were hosting the 2002 Winter Olympic Games. So fingers crossed, this is the tip of the iceberg to better